Forever in my mind, only you. The pieces in my life run away with you. You're my first love. You're my first love. You're my first love. You're my first love.
Okay, good afternoon everybody and welcome to live coverage of the 2013 Thrustmaster Formula Sim Racing World Series. And after a fantastic weekend in Monaco where we saw some action-packed racing, it was Edouard Malorque for Twister who came away with the victory. Some up and down fortunes for Precision, including Martin Gosby not even making it past the first corner, but he'll be hoping that this time out he won't have those problems again. It's round 5 of the championship and we've travelled to North America for the one and only time this season. We're at the Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal, the fantastic Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, situated on the Ile Notre Dame. It is a circuit that favours bravery, and it's also one that has a fantastic mix of long straights and tight chicanes. So, let's quickly introduce to the commentary team. Scott Woodward is here once again, leading the commentary, and next to me in the commentary box, hoping he doesn't come across any marmots on the track along the way in Canada this weekend, it's Lewis McGlade. How are you, sir?
I'm pretty good, yeah. Interesting track. You gotta love Canada as a Grand Prix. You know, it's open to lots of overtaking with the chicanes. There's a lot of heavy braking zones, and so I think we could be in for a really good Grand Prix this afternoon.
Let's certainly hope so. Quickly taking a look at the circuit itself, then it is 4.3 kilometres, and that's roughly translated as 2.71 miles. We're going to be running 70 laps here in this afternoon's World Series Grand Prix, and we are going to be seeing some fantastic driving. In terms of setup here and what they have to work with the car, you have to get a balance between high and low downforce because you have got the long straights here, but you also have to mix it in with the big braking zones and the chicanes. So you really have to kind of find that that sweet spot in the setup that allows you the straight line speed on the long straights, but then gives you enough grip to manoeuvre your way through these very tight chicanes.
Yeah, that is 100% true. The setup here, you can go both ways really. You know, you can go for a more heavy downforce setup, but then you can go for a low downforce setup. You know, you've got quite a lot of freedom to move on this track, dependent on your driving style, and I think that's why quite a lot of drivers actually like it here. But I mean, there is that sweet spot where, you know, for your driving style, this specific setup works. I mean, quite a lot of drivers I know will probably tend to go for the probably lower downforce here because of the amount of straights. You know, you want to get a good speed and good acceleration. But then you've got the chicanes, such as the final chicane where the Wall of Champions lays. It's very hard to like judge where you should be. You know, what kind of downforce levels you should be having, but you know that's why they practice a lot to understand where they should be going with the setup.
And also one big factor this weekend is also going to be brakes as well, because of course, as we said, we talk about those heavy braking zones, and I actually got some information from a few of the drivers is that what we are going to be anticipating is the fact that we are going to be seeing where in qualifying, especially in Q2, which is where we're going to now, we are going to get some drivers that are going to be putting, higher brake ducts on their cars, which is going to reduce the straight line speed. So that's going to reduce the times, and they're going to be about a second slower than what they've been doing in Q1. So I would probably expect the pole times are going to be somewhere around the 1:15s or around near the front of the grid. So, but especially we saw last year in races like the World Championship, of course, with Morgan Moran, he was so close to a decent finish on the podium, but then his brakes let him down with a couple of laps to go. So really, brake management, as with engine, because you're on full throttle at 67% of a lap here, engine and brake management, as is crucial probably with most circuits, is going to be. It's important on all circuits, but particularly here in Canada, you have to manage it very, very carefully.
Yeah, of course, because the amount of braking zones that we have here in Canada is really, really difficult to get that right. And it's going to be quite a lot of a balancing act, actually, for some of the drivers out there to, work the car around the track and the driving style. And I think we could see a few DNFs, especially towards the end of the race, when it comes down to braking and things like that. Brake just going, really. We may see quite a bit of that, especially towards the last maybe 10 laps of the race.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Let's quickly look then, whilst we're doing a quick server refresh, because we're doing it so we can had a few mismatches in Q1 with some of the cars coming through, but we're going to go into Q2. We've got our top 10 set, and we'll run through that once we get back into the server and sort things out for you. In the meantime, let's take a look at the championship standings coming into round 5. So top of the table is in fact Rob van Starkenburg for Precision. He managed to take the lead after scoring 3rd place last time out in Monaco, only just because he just managed to get his car to the finish after some side pod damage. Punched a hole in the radiator, and that sent the temperature sky high. So for the last few laps, he really had to manage his car very, very carefully, and just about got it across the line to take 3rd and give him a 5-point lead over his teammate Martin Gosby, who, as we said, had a very unfortunate weekend overall. He didn't make it past the first corner in World Series. His car ended up upside down at Saint-Devote, and then in the World Championship, when he was driving for GT Omega, he had a very unfortunate incident where he turned in a little too early into the swimming pool section around the kind of 2/3 of the race distance and clouted the barriers, and that unfortunately ended his weekend with 0 points in either championship. So he currently sits second with 140. Edouard Malorqui, who was the very fortunate benefactor of the misfortunes of Martin Gosby and those around him, is now 3rd in the championship with 120 points. And those three are the breakaway kind of trio that are at the top of the championship fighting for the title at this early point in the season as we come to the 1/3 distance in the championship. Peter Berlak sits 4th with 75 points, and he's 10 points ahead of Marco Conti in 5th, who scored a 2nd place in Monaco. Zoltan Schutte, who had an unfortunate disconnection, is 6th. He's 2 points behind Conti with 63 points. And then quickly running down the rest of the points, it's Antonio Collerat 7th, equal with Cyril Verdmuller on 57 points. Nick Rowland, who's of course one of our fellow FSR commentators, he's currently 9th with 54 points after that fantastic 5th place he managed to get himself. And Eros Bascudi rounding out the top 10 with 49 points. In the Teams Championship, it's Precision who leads with 285 points, and they have a fantastic 90-point lead over Twister Racing in the standings in second with 195 points. As I just try and get myself back into the server, that's timed out. So, as I was saying, in 3rd is GT Omega with 118 points, then Crown 7 Netrex 4th with 102. Obuto GP currently sit 5th with 97, and then rounding out the rest of the top 10 in the standings, it's Bishkara UAE with 69, Venus Project Racing with 67, Ghost Speed Racing Team with 62, they're 1 point ahead of Netrex Academy on 61, and then Biocross Positive Sim Racing rounding out the top 10 in the team standings with 50 points. So as I just mentioned there, the Drivers' Championship, we're starting to get ourselves a breakaway pack of 3 drivers of Van Starkenburg, Gosby and Malorqui. Now that we're a third of the way through the season, do you think we're starting to get a clear indication of who the title contenders are going to be? Or do you think maybe the likes of Berlak, possibly maybe Zoltan Schutte, maybe Marco Conti as well? Do you reckon they've still got a chance to make an impact if they have a good, solid couple of race weekends here and going forwards?
Yeah, I mean, looking at who could be challenging for the title. I mean, the top 3 drivers at the moment, which is Van Starkenburg, Gosby, and Malorqui, are in like they're in the best position to do it. Obviously, that's just purely obvious. Because, they're the only ones above 100 points. They're within 25 points of each other, those three. And when it's 50 points for a win, theoretically, there's so many people who can still be in the championship. However, it seems so much like Gosby, despite having such a poor race in Monaco, he's still got 140 points. He's only 5 points behind his teammate. He's in a really good position and looks very, very strong for the championship. And so, weighing up who could be going for the championship at the moment, you cannot rule it out being between the two precision drivers, and those are the only two really properly going for it. Not to be unfair to any of the other drivers on the grid, but that's just kind of seems who's stronger at the moment.
No, I do agree. I think that Van Starkenberg definitely took advantage of Gosby's misfortunes in Monaco, and of course he's now up the top of the standings. Of course, now Gosby, obviously, he's coming to a circuit where it's similar in Monaco in that the barriers are very close and the walls are around. It's more of a high-speed circuit, as we said. You have to have that balance of high and low downforce, but there's still those chicanes in there as well, the big braking zones. So, do you think Gosby stands a better chance of getting a good result, judging that Monaco didn't really seem to be a track that he seemed to favour too much?
Sorry, repeat the question. I was just typing. Apologies.
That's fine. I just talk about Martin Gosby. Of course, he's now because we're coming to Canada, which is has some similar characteristics to Monaco. It's a very kind of winding circuit, but it has its long straights. It has characteristics such as the closeness of the walls compared to Monaco. Obviously, not as close to the track as you have in Monaco with the barriers around the streets of Monte Carlo. But do you think that because of the high speed here, do you think that Gosby's going to be able to stretch his legs a bit more and have a bit more better fortunes here? Because it is sometimes Canada can be a car breaker. So do you think that Gosby's going to be maybe a bit more cautious after his shaky weekend in Monaco, or do you think he's now going to think he's possibly got his mindset right? Monaco was a bad weekend, so I just need to put it out of my head, move forwards. Montreal's a brand new opportunity. It's round 5. I need to get my championship win back. So effectively, he's going to be gunning for a third race victory of the season here in Canada.
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, it's a track that you have to attack. To get the most out of this track, you've got to attack it. And I think if he's put off by it because of what happened in Monaco, then he could be facing some pretty serious problems later in the season when it comes to his championship hunt. He's got to put everything that happened in Monaco behind him and just focus on the race now. You can attack this racetrack a lot more because it's a lot wider. Don't get me wrong, it's not really safe on the car to attack this track, but you can push to an extreme that you really couldn't in Monaco because of the barriers. So there's going to be a few corners that he's going to be a bit weary of because you get close to the wall, especially the last corner with the Wall of Champions. But I think he's just got to put it all behind him and focus on what he's doing, and just focus on the championship. Monaco's just one race. I mean, it's the race that loads of drivers want to win, but it's just one race. There's 14 other races in the championship, and he's got to focus on those.
And also wanted to talk a little bit about Edouard Malorqui, of course. He benefited from the misfortunes, as we said, that the precision guys and even his teammates as well, because his teammate was very, very close to a good result and unfortunately dropped out. Malorqui was able to pick up the pieces there, and don't get me wrong, he put in a fantastic drive to win that race. He now comes to a circuit where he's raced here twice, but he's never finished outside the top 10. He was 6th in the World Trophy in 2010, and then when he visited here, he started 4th and came 3rd. So he finished on the podium last year in the World Series. So Malorqui knows how to attack this circuit, and he's got experience of he's finished on the podium here once. And obviously, he's coming off the back of a win in Monaco, which is pretty much the toughest race of the year. So you have to. So I think you definitely have to agree that his confidence coming into Montreal is going to be absolutely, on another level, because he knows that not only can he compete and beat the precision cars, he's coming to a circuit where he knows he can do well.
Yeah, I mean, a win in Monaco does so much for a confidence boost because it is the toughest race on the calendar. As you said, I mean, they've just done 78 laps around Monaco, and gotten to the end and won the race. That's no small feat at all. And to go from that into a circuit that you can attack more, there's going to be that extra level of confidence. You know, whether he likes the circuit or not. You know, there's going to be someone out there. Well, you know, there's going to be quite a few people out there who don't like the circuit. You know, who think it's a terrible circuit. But whether he's one of those people or not, there's just going to be that confidence boost that's then just going to push him. You know, when you get this confidence boost, as has been seen across previous rounds, when you get that confidence boost, you can become pretty much unstoppable. You know, just racing lap after lap after lap with no fear of like the walls, the curbs. There's some really high curbs here, but you know, you've been driving through all these barriers and you won in Monaco, so you know what's a curb, and that's where he could be with his frame of mind. And if he is, he's going to be an extremely strong contender here.
And I was also going to talk about the curbs, in fact, was that to get a fast lap time here, you have to have the ability to ride the curbs here and ride the curb as well. And there are, as you said, some very huge curbs here. I'm just on board with Dimitri Damatos currently, who's running down the back straight. If we can get an on-board shot of him here, he's coming down towards the final chicane here. He comes into braking, and then you've got this huge concrete mounds here that he has to hop over. He just threaded his way through past those. Now you can go over those and attack them, but the problem with that is that if you're not careful enough, then you can damage the suspension on there. So you've really got to kind of almost kind of make a kind of compromise, saying, you know, I've got to go fast, I've got to make sure that I attack these curves, but seeing those concrete mounds on the inside, that's what they're installed for, so you don't get drivers trying to cut the chicanes too much and gaining time that way in an illegal way. So you've got to risk it. You think, yes, I can attack these big concrete mounds, but I've got to be careful not to do it too much because it's going to cost me suspension damage and potentially ruin my race in the latter one. And also you've got to remember is that if you get your line wrong for that chicane, it will spit you into the wall of champions. It's a very daunting wall on the right-hand side, of course. It's pretty much as close to the track as you get it somewhere at one of the barriers in Monaco. So I think really these guys are going to have to watch their braking points into that very tricky last chicane. But the run up towards it is very crucial because you have to get a very key, because the exit out of the island hairpin is probably the most crucial part of the circuit, because if you can get yourself as much traction as you can out of the island, out of the pits hairpin as it's called, because that's where the old pits used to be before they changed it down to where they are now, it will set you up for the highest possible top speed down the casino straight before you have to brake for that final chicane. And that's, I think, where we're going to see key points in qualifying in terms of time or lost. The run through the final chicane and the run out of the hairpin, that last sector could be the difference between taking pole and starting somewhere near the middle to the back of the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing with this circuit. You have to abuse the curbs, as you said. You know, by abuse, I don't mean like cheat. I mean you've got to be riding them as much as you possibly can in you know, without the car being spat off into the wall. And I think that's the biggest fear about the final chicane. Is not the fact of really the curves and the suspension damage, it's the fact of there's the wall of champions sitting right there, and the amount of people who will throw their car into that wall. You know, I think we'll see at least 2 or 3 drivers, you know, throw themselves into that wall of champions. You know, that counts qualifying as well, but I think we'll see a good few drivers throw it into the wall of champions, because it's if you take that curb even slightly wrong, then that's where you'll end up, and that will end your race or end your qualifying. You know, it's going to end what could be a decent lap, because it's right at the end of a lap. If you've done a really, really good lap until that point, that is the part that will ruin it. More than anything else, that is the part where if you take too much curb, if you ride over the actual bump, then you will lose so much time. But if you get it just right, then you know you're on for an extremely good lap. But as you said about the hairpin, getting good drive out of the chicane means using a lot of the track, and drivers that aren't, you know, using as much of the track as possible, really, you know, are going to be costing themselves some time. And I think that has to be observed here. You know, who's using more of the track, because that's where you may be getting the good speed, the good drive, and those few tenths.
Most definitely, and we're going to see these guys push themselves to the limit right now, because we are now into Q2, of course. Now, we're going to quickly run down the drivers that are through to Q2, then starting from 10th backwards. So 10th, actually, in fact, is Nick Rowland. That's fantastic to see him in Q2. He's always been just thereabouts outside it. So he's now in Q2. 9th is Santiago Niza. Peter Burlak is 8th. Then we've got Dimitri de Matos for Ghost Speed. Zoltan Schutte, who's going to be for Netrex. Edouard Malorqui for Twister. 4th was Ajibola Lawal. Rob van Starkenburg for Precision. Cyril Verbmuller for GT Omega. And Martin Gosby, of course, is the man who was quickest in that session then. So cars now on their hot laps. How it works is basically you get one single flying lap to do this one. Cyril Verbmuller will be the first one to come into the first sector. And that's a nice tidy sector from him. Looking into what's happening right now, we've got Gosby and Malorqui who are also running themselves through turn 5. You can run yourself flat through there. And we'll have times coming through in a moment as the rest of the field make their way onto their opening laps. Now I'm going to take a look at the live timing as I can see it on the screen here. And currently it is Gosby who's quickest through that first sector. Verbmuller, he was about half a tenth off Gosby's one, but Verbmuller is going to be the first man through sector 2. In fact, he is now ready through the hairpin. A little bit of wheel spin, but he sets him up onto the casino straight here, although we're reaching roughly around 320 kilometers an hour or so. He's up to 300 already, and let's see just how fast he is coming down towards the braking zone. There, 200 miles an hour now he's at. Hard braking for the final chicane, hops over the curves right and left, uses the right amount of runoff onto the pit straight he comes, and he will set the first benchmark time. It's going to be a 1:15.585, so he takes pole position for the moment. Martin Gosby then looks as though he's going quicker. In the second sector, he was still faster by about a tenth and a bit. Across the line he comes. He takes provisional pole 1:15.188, so he's currently flying at the moment. Malorqui slots into third on a 15.8. And now we've got Rob van Starkenburg, who is down by almost 3/4 of a second on his teammate as he threads his way through the chicane. So at least if Van Starkenburg can find somehow 3/4 of a second in this fast sector, the answer is no, he can't. 1:16.0, so he's now 5th, and 4th is actually Malorqui. Into 3rd goes Dimitri de Matos, 1:15.787. So we've got times coming thick and fast. The next man that's going to come through, we've got the next few guys in the top 10 are going to come through and start their laps. We've got coming on track, Zoltan Nagi's coming onto track now, as is Ajibola Lawal, who is in the Precision yellow car because he and Nick Rowland have swapped cars. And Zoltan Schutte has started his lap. So, top 5 then, so far in this qualifying session. Have you seen much of a surprise? Because I think De Matos is the only real surprise up there in 3rd place. That's a fantastic effort from him.
That is a very, very good effort. You know, he's only 6 was he? He's 6/10 off of the lead. I think Burlak's about to complete his lap. But yeah, that's a really good lap from De Matos to get, you know, that far up. I'm surprised it's actually as spread out as it is as Burlak actually completes his lap. He goes 2nd. Wow, a 1:15.505. Gosby is so far in front of the rest of the pack.
We're looking at Zoltan Schutte. He's only about a tenth and a bit off Gosby's time, so Schutte's looking pretty quick here. Looks like he's on course to probably get himself onto the front row. He's gained even more time in the second sector. He's now only 3/4 of a tenth off. Little bit of Wilson, maybe a bit too much out of the casino the pit's hairpin. His teammate Zoltan Nagy is on an outlap behind him. He's not going to offer any slipstreaming benefit. And just in front is Ajibola Lawal, then the Precision yellow car. But down the pit straight he comes. Looks like he's running more downforce. He wasn't as quick. He didn't touch 200 miles an hour. That's a pretty slick. Oh, he's clipped the wall of champions on the outside. That's going to compromise his exit. But he sprints towards the line, and Zoltan Schutte heads across, and he goes 4th, 1:15.5. And I think the fact he was running more downforce, and the fact he clipped the wall on the exit, that's what compromised his lap. It could have been much closer. He could have possibly got onto, if he's running less wing and he hadn't made that scruffy exit on the exit of the chicane, he probably would have got himself onto the front row.
Yeah, I have to agree. It was, I wouldn't say it was a sloppy third sector, but you know, it wasn't the best. I will agree with setup-wise, it does look like he's running a higher downforce setup, which would explain why he was so much faster going through the first and second sectors. You know, he was a lot faster through the, well, not faster, but you know, he was up there through the first and second sector, but then he dropped a lot off through sector 3. I think Zoltan Nagy is the only person who's out on a lap, if that's correct.
We've got Ajibola Lawal's out there as well. Nagy himself he's off maybe about 1/4 of a second. I think it was a little untidy exit, a bit too much wheel spin off the hairpin. And also Lawal is just in front. We'll see exactly what his time is as he comes up towards the line. The only man that's not setting a time, it seems, is Santiago Niza. As Lawal heads across the line, he's been about half a second off. He goes to 6th on a 1:15.6. The only man we've got left now to watch out for is Zoltan Nagy, and here he comes. He sets the final time of the session. He goes 7th, 1:15.76. he just seems to be struggling here in terms of setup. I didn't hit the TeamSpeak button there. Sorry for that. Yeah, Rob van Starkenburg. That was a real unfortunate to see him at the bottom of the top 10. It was something that's not really expected. I would have thought we'd seen him somewhere up near his teammate Martin Gosby, who's up, of course, on pole position. But are you surprised at that? I mean, I'm really a bit mystified as to where Rob's pace has gone.
No, I totally agree with you. He's to be down as far as he is. It doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, in the consideration of the last 4 rounds that we've done, you know, he's been up there. I think he's been on pole before in this race already, in this season already. And to say that he's the current championship leader, I think that's the big shock of this qualifying session, is that he's in 10th. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not dropped out in Q1 or anything, but still 10th is a lot lower down than where he really should be, and I will state that that's a surprise. I think the only good thing that he can take from that is that, you know, this is Canada. This is the place where, you know, you can just overtake your way to the finish. And I think that's what he's got to be counting on, is the fact that he needs to overtake to get through. You know, he needs to now from 10th, but that's really his only hope at the moment, is to be in that set of mind that he can overtake and hopefully get higher up and, you know, decent points from this.
Most definitely. And also what was quite a shock was Edmond Malorque, because he's down there on row 5 as well. We'll talk about that in a little bit in a moment, but first of all we're going to go to a very quick break. We're going to run, as usual, our sponsor video for our title sponsor Thrustmaster as we promote their flagship sim racing product, the T500 RS Racing Wheel. Back in 2. And welcome back to round 5 of the 2013 Thrustmaster Formula Sim Racing World Series. Scott Woodris and Lewis McGlade here to guide you through the action for 70 laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. And looking here at this fantastic Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, it's actually situated at Parc Jean Drapeau on the Ile Notre Dame. It's a man-made island on the St. Lawrence River. It's part of the city of Montreal. And it's hosted plenty of things here. It's hosted Formula 1 back since 1978 on and off a couple of times. It's also hosted Champ Cars as well, NASCARs as well for the Nationwide Series and the Canadian Tire Series, and also the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series too. It's even hosted the World of the FIA World Sports Car Championship in 1990. So plenty of racing that's gone on here, but this weekend at least it's the turn of the FSR boys, and we're now just in warm-up, I think just about almost to go to the race itself very shortly. And now that we're in the warm-up session, before we get back to what the point we're making on Edouard Malorqui, let's talk about strategy, because I've had a chat with one or two of the drivers, particularly at Go Speed, and they've been talking about what strategies we can expect here. And for the World Series today, we're expecting drivers to run either a one or a two-stop strategy. Now, the two stops are going to be something which probably are similar to what we're going to see maybe tomorrow in the World Championship. The one-stoppers seem to me it's an obvious one, that they're going to run on the hard tyre through the entire race and stop roughly around the midpoint, so roughly somewhere around, I would guess around lap 35, maybe 2 or 3 laps give or take, depending on how they use them. But of course, unlike Monaco, I mean, there are places to pass here, but track position is probably going to be as key here as it is, particularly as it is at Monaco, because of the nature of the circuit and how close the barriers are.
Yeah, to a point. Because of the nature of the circuit, the fact that you can overtake here, I think it will come less down to pit stops as it did, throughout Monaco. Monaco generally comes down to pit stops. It's all about your strategy. Here, don't get me wrong, strategy is everything, but it's totally. I think it depends on your driving style, really. If your driving style is extremely quick, but you wear out your tyres, then you're obviously going to be doing a two-stop. But this is a driver circuit. This is one where I don't think tyre wear comes as much into it as it does at other places, thanks to just the nature of the circuit. But I think we will see a lot of overtaking here. But I'd say strategy-wise, it's probably going to come down to a one-stop, really, because there's no real need to do that second stop unless you've got a setup or a driving style that has heavy degradation on the tyres, which actually surprisingly throughout this we haven't seen too much of. We've seen some pretty high degradation, but generally when one driver has high degradation, it's across the whole. Every driver has it. It's not really one specific driver, really. We've seen it a couple of times where it's like that, but generally, I think strategy across everyone on the track at the moment probably going to be extremely similar. You'll be looking at a one-stop most likely.
You make a good point about tyre strategy, and of course, at least the tyre wear, because this isn't a circuit where tyre wear I think is going to be too much of an issue, really, because there aren't really that many very fast corners. The only fast corner that I can really think of on this circuit is turn 5. All the rest, they're very stop-start corners, right? Obviously chicanes and hairpins, coupled in with the long straights. So I don't think tyre wear is going to affect too much. I think you are right. I think it is mainly going to be these guys are. I think it wouldn't surprise you, the majority all run on the hard tyre. We may see some drivers risking going onto the soft tyre, maybe in the opening stint, or maybe leaving it to the last part. But obviously that depends on how comfortable they feel with the car themselves and running on those tyres. Depends on how much they've done how much testing they've done with the current setup on those tyres. We've got less than a minute and a half to go to the race, and Zoltan Schutte is currently top of the warm-up times with a 1:19.418, and he's currently ahead of both of the Pescara Uain cars. Well, he was. In fact, Cyril Verdmuller and then Edouard Malorqui jump into third and then first, respectively. So Malorqui's jumped in on the 1:19.246. And that brings me on nicely to Malorqui, because we were talking about, obviously, Bernd Starkenberg being very surprised to see him down in 10th. Malorqui's down in 9th, and he won the race last time out in Monaco, of course, as we've already said. That's quite surprising as well, because Malorqui, either he's struggling with setup here and he's not finding his favour on here, or whether it was just a mistake he found on his lap somewhere, which we didn't see on camera, or the fact that depending on how well he's gone in the past here in Monaco, the 2 occasions he's raced here, I'm a little bit mystified as to why he hasn't done better than he has done. Do you think it was purely set up, or that he made a mistake at somewhere on his lap?
Well, I didn't see a mistake on his lap, but I don't know if there would be. I mean, what did you say it was ninth? I don't know what the time split was there, but must have been at least 7 or 8 tenths of a second, and that kind of time, yeah, obviously setup would come into that, but I don't see him getting the setup that wrong unless he's gone completely for a race setup. You know, I don't know. It's kind of hard to judge really from where we are at the moment. You know, I think it's a bit too early to tell, but you know, we've seen some good drives throughout World Series, and you know, maybe he's just adopted like the perfect strategy and he's actually got a really good setup that we just haven't seen yet. Maybe he did make a mistake on his qualifying lap. They only get one shot at it, and there can be quite a lot of pressure from that, especially considering one wrong apex, and that could really throw you off. And especially round here, in the section that Milwaukee's actually going through now, which was going around 3, 4 and 5, if you get an apex wrong coming out of turn 4, that completely messes you up time-wise and, you know, speed-wise.
Yeah.
Going through 5 and 6, you know, you've got really quite a lot of these corners. You're going from one to another, bringing all of this momentum. There's only really one corner where you lose that momentum, and that's the hairpin. You know, so it's all about building momentum, and if you lose that, then that's where you lose the time, and that could have been what happened with Milwaukee.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, you said about the curbs. Obviously, we said that you obviously to get a good lap here, you have to definitely be able to ride the curbs and use them properly. But obviously, looking at the size of the curves, of course, if you attack them too hard or just get them too wrong, it can spit the car one way or the other. So you have to be very careful how you attack them in the right way. The clock for the warm-up has now ticked down, so we have finished warm-up, so we should be going to the race session any moment now. And once we've done that, we'll give you a full rundown of the 26 car grid we've got for today's race. But I think it looks like it's only 25 possibly, or 26. But we are going to the race session now. One driver I want to point out that seems to be making a return to FSR for the first time this season is, in fact, Mohammed Patel. He is a previous FSR champion. I think he was the FSR World Series Amateur Champion in 2009. Apologies if that is incorrect. I'm trying to go by memory. I've got the GP cost in front of me here, but I haven't quite just managed to get it up on screen or to kind of drill it into my memory just yet, but I'm still trying to get the little facts and figures up for you guys. One fact and figure I did want to give for you guys is that I found this out. Apart from on 2 occasions since 2006, the driver that's gone on to win this race has always gone to finish in the top 5 of the standings. So effectively, whoever wins here, there's a good chance they will be up thereabouts, fighting for the top 5 places, even for the championship. So that's going to be quite key to see how that plays out. But as the field gets led round, let's take you through the grid for this afternoon's World Series Canadian Grand Prix. On the pole then is Martin Gosby for Precision Motorsports. Alongside him, Peter Burlap, the reigning World Trophy champion. Excellent effort to put himself on the front row alongside Gosby in second. Third, the first of the GT Omega cars of Cyril Vermuller. Alongside him, another great effort, and Schutte to start 4th for Crown 7 Netrex. 5th, Villa Lapala. He's going down somewhere at 24th or so in the championship standings, but he's very quick indeed, and he'll start on the 3rd row alongside Ajibola Lawal, who's come back after missing Monaco. In row 6, he's in the Precision Yellow car this time. Zolt Nagy in the 2nd Crown 7 Netrex car is 7th, ahead of Dimitri Dematos in 8th, and then Edouard Malorqui and Rob Van Starkenberg make up row 5. Row 6 is Luka Ostakovic and Eros Rasculi, and as I hand over to Lewis Terrett for the second half of the grid, on row 7 and 13th place is Florian Kohler alongside Michael Francesconi.
Yeah, and then you have the returning Mohammed Patel in 15th, just behind them. Then Nick Rowland all the way back down in 16th. Did he have a penalty or something? Because I thought you said he got through into Q2 there.
I think it was a mistake because he was 10th in the standings, but I don't believe he. I think after looking at it, I think I realised that there was a couple of cars we saw on the mini map that they were in like 20th place or 21st in the standings. So I think they were going off where they finished in warm up or thereabouts. I think.
Roger that. Well, quickly then, 17th is Mundy. 18th is Rodriguez. Kolarek is in 19th. Van der Neet in 20th. 21st is Guetha. 22nd is Niza. 23rd is Diaz. 24th, De Jong. 25th, Maldonado. Well, that's going to be funny. And 26th starting. That's not a driver. That's Jaakko Miekkinen.
Yeah, that's our brand new broadcast director looking after. And also, if you're noticing, if we sound a little bit clearer, because we're using a brand new speech system, which is Mumble. So instead of using TeamSpeak, and we've got a couple of plugins as well to make things sound a bit more professional, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. So, as the cars warm up onto the grid then, it's Gosby and Burlack on the front row of the grid. Is it going to be a third win of the season for Gosby? Will it be another win for Rob van Starkenberg back from 9th on the grid, 10th on the grid, or Edouard Malorky from 9th? Will we get a 4th winner of the season in 5 races? All set for round 5 of the World Series here in Canada. The Canadian Grand Prix, 70 laps await the 25 drivers. The lights are up, and when they go out, you know the drill. We will be racing in Montreal. Great start from Gosby off the line. Look at Juty, fantastic start. He's on the grass, almost squeezed on there by Burlack. Vermeulen's up to 2nd already. Juty up the inside, side by side with Burlack for 3rd place. Lawal's up to 5th, and watching on, he's got Nagy and Lapala fighting out for 6th behind him as they thread the first couple of corners. But Gosby's got the great start. Vermeulen's up to 2nd. Zoltan's got Juty's got 3rd. Fantastic pass from him. What a start. He almost got squeezed onto the grass and almost spun out himself as they thread their way through. And already Van Starkenberg's down to 10th. Where's Mascudi attacking Lepala into turn 5? He's looking very racy already. And Ostakovic is up there too in 9th place as well, already ahead of Van Starkenberg. As now the fight for 7th, Lapala up the inside of Malorky down towards turn number 7. It's a turn 8, sorry, and Lapala went over the curb. He's lost another place to Ostakovic and Van Starkenberg, but Lapala's getting very defensive. He's losing places hand over fist from 5th on the grid. He's attacking up the inside of Ostakovic into the hairpin. Side by side, Lapala's getting very racy indeed, and back up there. What sort of traction has he got? No, Ostakovic gets the better run down the Casino Straight. This is where Slipstream is going to be key all race long. Here comes Lepala on the outside. Van Starkenberg gets the turn on the inside. Now he's trying to shoot the gap, and he almost ran into the middle of both of them and got squeezed. Lapala to the inside, now back to the outside, weaving this way and that. I'm not sure how the stewards are going to take to that one. And Ostakovic and Van Starkenberg almost go side by side through the chicane, and a fantastic train in front quickly of Burlack with under attack from the wall. There's contact, the wall's off! Not quite, he hits the side of Burlack's car, he's all over the place, holds on somehow. Now she's gone round the outside, now the 2 twister cars go side by side in the exit of turn 2. Now they're attacking Nagy. My God, when I still have any breath left. Now Nagy and Malorky going side by side, more contact, they're muscling each other through 3 and 4. My goodness, what a start already in Canada.
Well, there is so much action, it is so hard to keep track of. The WOW, though, has had a pretty good start. He's in 4th place. It's very hard to get that one right because he's got Nick Rowland written on all over his car. But yeah, he's up in 4th. There's been some good starts, some pretty contactful duels. You know, a bit aggressive. But ultimately, we see some good defending, really.
Looking back, Mohammed Patel is actually back in now 18th place, and looking ahead just quickly, Nick Rowland is in 16th, and he's coming under attack from Michael Francesconi, who's dropped a few places off the start because he was 14th on the grid, down to 17th. Looking ahead, we've still got more battles going on, and it is once again, it's Nagy and Malorky side by side into the final chicane, and Malorky takes the place, he's up to 5th, he started 9th, up 4 spots off the start. This is great stuff, and Lawal is already starting to pull away in 4th position, just up ahead. Juty is on the back of Vermeulen as Gosby storms off into the distance already. He has, going on to lap 3, trying to see the gap here quickly. It is just quick 2-second gap he's got already. But Juty giving Vermeulen a lot of headaches already on lap 3 of this race. Looking very keen. He could be possibly in contention for a podium place if fortunes go his way. Now, Malorky's pulled away from Zaggi very slightly. Van Starkenberg is now up to, still in 9th, but 10th in Lapala. And they're all closing up behind because Ostakovic is now bringing Mascudi with him in 11th. And then to Matos in 12th is under attack from Chris de Jong in 13th. There's so many battles going on through the field. It's very hard to keep up with all this. As we're watching, I'm seeing Florian Kohler under attack from Rodriguez up the inside. And that's 14th place for the Biocross Positive driver. And also, Nick Rowland could be in contention for this as well because he's right on the back of the Frenchman. There's, as we said, lots of battles, lots of duels going on. It's fantastic as Rowland dives up the inside into the pits hairpin and relieves Kohler at 15th, and Francesconi going with him. Fantastic stuff. Oh no, not quite, because Kohler managed to cover the line off the hairpin, but he'll get the drag down towards the final chicane.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some serious overtaking here, but Malorky's looking very racy behind Lawal, considering he qualified in 9th. Lawal, I don't know if Lawal's going slowly or Malorky's just got that strategy right. You know, the setup right. But do you remember when Lawal took pole position in Australia? That was a long time ago. But
oh, sorry to cut across. We've had an incident. It's involved Nick Rowland, in fact, and Florian Kohler. So we need to have a look at that back on the replay. And they went side by side through the corner. Oh, Now, that looked to me, there's a little bit of lag on my screen looking at it, but Roland Co looks like they made contact going into the final chicane. So Roland's down to 25th now. He's still going. Remember, he suffered damage on the opener. In fact, he's lost his front wing as well.
Front wing, yeah.
That he's going to have to crawl round to the front of the pits. That's a disaster for Nick Roland after a fantastic weekend for him, where he scored a 5th place behind teammate Vermuller, who's still 2nd in this race, by the way. Roland's now gone from hero down to 0, and that's rather unfortunate because we were hoping that he would put in another strong performance today. Kohler's still carrying on in 23rd. How much damage he's got on his car we don't know as such, but we'll have to keep an eye on that one as this race progresses. But Nick Roland in all sorts of trouble already. He's down to last and 25th.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate, you know, especially considering where he lost the front wing. You know, literally going around the last corner at that point, it's too late to go into the pits. But you know, these things happen. You've just got to soldier on and hope for the best. I think now, you know, I don't know what he can do strategy-wise because it's so early.
Oh, and just as you're saying that, I saw a magnificent outside pass from Edouard Malonqui on Ajibola Lawal for 4th. That was a brilliant pass. Just simply outbraked him on the outside and just held his line and said, "No, this place is mine. Thank you very much, sunshine. I am away and gone." So now Malonqui really is the man on the move here. He's up 5 spots from where he started on the grid. Now Zoltan Schutte isn't too far away. He's only about 3 seconds up the road or so. You can see him in the distance. So Malonqui, and look at the gap he's pulling away to Lawal. So it must have been a mistake on his qualifying that, because Malonqui's absolutely charging in these early stages. He's setting a blistering pace right now. Looking at his sector times very quickly on my screen. How's he doing for sector times? They haven't come through just yet. Well, they have now. Well, Malonqui is not lapping as quick as either Gosby or Vermuller, but he is lapping slightly quicker than Schutte by about a 10th or so, and he's pretty much matched him in the second sector, so he's got the pace now to keep up with the front runners. But of course strategy will of course rear its head later on in the race, and so Malonqui's got to make use of this slightly clean air to try and close in on the top 3 to give him any chance of a potential podium this afternoon.
I think Malonqui's had such a good start. I don't think really at the moment he's looking for a podium. You know, at this rate of going through the field, you know, a win's not really too far out of sight. And if he wants to go for the championship, then that's where he's got to be aiming. You know, Gosby, if he wins this race, Gosby will have even further a lead across the rest of them, and so Malonqui needs to be focusing on that. But you know, obviously you've got to focus on the smaller things as a podium. But I mean, this is 5 laps into the race, and he's already up into 4th from 9th. So it's pretty good for him right now.
Speaking of 9th, we've got a fantastic 5-car scrap going on for 9th place between it's Lepela in 8th, then Osakovic challenging the Finn down towards turn 8, but Lapala has the line covered and he holds on in the go speed there. Rob van Starkenberg still struggling to move up through the top 10 here. He hasn't moved any further. Dropped to places. Now Ostakovic and Lapala go side by side. Lapala, that's almost a dummy down towards the hairpin. Ostakovic forcing his way up the inside of Lapala, and he gets enough traction to just about keep in front of him as they head onto the back straight. Fantastic pass, definitely, but here comes Lapala. His move's not finished just yet. They're side by side once again. Now where's Van Starkenberg going to go? Because he's going to tail Ostakovic. Look at the pass, swerve to one part of the track then the other, as now that's opened the door for Van Starkenberg up the inside, but Ostakovic shuts the door. So at the moment now it's Lapala 8th, Ostakovic 9th. Now Van Starkenberg in 10th, but he's under attack now from Eros Masculine in 11th, and Chris de Jong in 12th, and the NetRex Academy car is really how we go. As I think that was Lapala going a little deep into turn 1. It's now Ostakovic right onto his gearbox once again. So Lapala's struggling at the moment to try and fend off this horde of cars behind him, and also he's struggling. He's also Ajibola Lawal. He's in 5th place, and also he's got both Nagy and Peter Burlak, who's dropped back from his front row start. He's back down to 6th, but he's finding a little bit more pace now. He's got the tyres up to temperature, just settling into this first stint now. We'll have to keep an eye on that one as this train of cars continues in this fight for 8th.
Yeah, I mean, Lawal does look like he's struggling a little bit now, but you know, this strategy, things like that may come into this a bit later on. Maybe he's going a lot further into the race than everyone else. Nick Rowland still in the race. He's back down in 24th, not last, because he's got Mundy behind him. Don't know what happened to Mundy. You know, he must have lost a front wing as well to state that he's behind Nick Rowland. But unfortunately, you know, it's looking like a very quiet and boring race for Rowland at the moment.
Tell you about quiet and boring. You see Martin Gosby up in front. He's really got a 4 or 5 second lead. He's absolutely just storming away at the front, minding his own business. But at the moment, Ostakovic can't do that as he skips over the final chicane. He's just been passed by Van Starkenburg into the hairpin, and now that means Masculi's got 3 into 10. So Ostakovic has lost 2 places in the space of 2 corners, which is rather unfortunate. And now he's got Chris de Jong to deal with. And Chris de Jong, he made his World Championship debut last time out in Monaco for MGP, who are of course a satellite team, if you like, to NetRex. And he's now running along in 12th to see if he can capitalise any further mistakes that the Venus Racing driver will make. Ostakovic doesn't seem to be letting Mascudi get away too far, as the Italian now winds his way through turns 6 and 7. A little bit of wheel spin from Ostakovic as he gets the power down again. And this is intriguing because you see Van Starkenburg and Lepal starting to break away. Now they've got Ostakovic out of their system and away from them in the vicinity. Now these two are starting just to break away, and they could see a scrap now for 8th. And I think that's what's been holding Van Starkenburg, the fact that he just couldn't get past. And now he's paid for it at the moment, whilst his teammate sails on into the distance with a, if I just quickly check, 5-second lead now. And Starkenburg really hasn't made any progress really from where he started on row 5. He's now trying to get onto the back of Lepala here, but remember, he's running more downforce than most of the cars around him, although he is getting up to 330 kilometres an hour down the back straight, so obviously the toe has helped.
Pits.
And Starkenburg pits. Now, was that scheduled, or did he just miss his braking point? I wonder on that one. If that is the case, we'll see either that or he's got damage. Now, is he stopping his pit box? Yes, he is. So this is rather unusual here. So Van Starkenburg, either he has damage, or that was a switch to...
That was a scheduled stop.
Did he start on the soft tyres?
It was a scheduled stop.
That's quite unusual to be stopping that earlier. I wouldn't have expected that in the slightest. So Starkenburg threads out just to go side by side on the exit with Santiago Niza, and Van Starkenburg is out in 18th place. So that's quite mystifying. I didn't expect Van Starkenburg hit that early. So I have to keep an eye exactly what his strategy is going to be. He's also trying to catch up to the battle for 16th between Mohamed Patel and Bastien Gauthier, but that's definitely one to watch. As now it's allowed Burlak. It's now got Lepal's got some clean air now, but Mascudi is starting to chase after him. As the fight for 5th is hotted up, they're going side by side. The 4th hotted up between Lawal and Nagy. Lawal went a little too deep into the hairpin. This is putting Nagy right onto his gearbox. Here comes the Hungarian, as in front. Also, Malorki and Zuti are going side by side. We've got 2 scraps, and Malorki's passed Zuti into 3rd. So up into a podium place for the moment goes Malorki.
Lawal still in 5th.
He has. The well has held off Nagy, but for how much longer? He'll get another opportunity down towards turn 1. And will he go to the outside? No, Lawal's got that line covered. And Burlak just sitting there, just watching and waiting. Just seeing if he can find an opportunity here, just waiting for one of these two to get tangled up with each other and make a mistake. And he knows that as soon as that happens, he's got a great chance to take 2 places in one go.
Yeah, very, very true. Back at the front, Gosby now has a 5.8 second lead over Bergman. I still can't get it out of my head. What happened to Van Starkenburg? Why did he have to pit that early? Is the tyre deg here a lot higher than we first thought? I don't think so. He didn't miss his braking spot though, because if he did, he would have ploughed straight into the back of the Lepala. So I don't know what's happened to Van Starkenburg.
It's running a race somewhat, and also the Burlak's getting into it as well. Fantastic 3-way scrap for 5th here, and somehow the Wales held on to it once again. This is fantastic, but Nagy and Burlak are starting to get frustrated now. They know the longer they spend behind Lawal, the more it's going to compromise their race later on, because they know that in front of them, Nagy and Malorki are just starting, as Juti is starting to run up, Juti and Malorki I should say, are starting to run up the road, chasing after Vermuller and Gosby. So Lawal is the catalyst here. He needs to, effectively, Nagy and Burlak need to dispatch of him right now, unless their races get ruined until the next first round stops. And a huge mistake for Nagy there, a little too eager on the power, and that can happen there. You're starting to get a little frustrated, a little angry that you can't get past someone. And remember, this is exactly what we saw, remember, in Monaco, remember this, Lewis? We saw this when we had Nick Rowland was holding off both Villa and Lepala, and then it was, I think it was actually Zsolt Nagy, and both of them made mistakes as a result of not being able to pass the GT Omega. So I think Nagy's kind of seeing a bit of deja vu here. It is a car that's in the precision stable. He's finding trouble to get past it. He's probably thinking, oh no, this is Monaco all over again.
Yeah, I mean the difference is that if he gets a decent enough slipstream coming down this straight that he's on now, he may be able to get through. But you know, yeah, it's gonna really stress him out. You know, sitting behind a driver, you know, and no matter what you do, even though you're defending from Burlak behind, there's Lawal pits.
So another early pitter. There's precision seems to be going for a rather intriguing strategy here. He's pitted about 3 laps later than Van Starkenburg did. Van Starkenburg, just to note quickly, he is up to 16th place. That'll be 15th now as he goes past the well, who is pitting. And he's on the back now of Danny van der Neet in the second of the Netrex Academy cars. That's the car, the predominantly black car with the yellow accents, just in front of Van Starkenburg. And oh, it's going to be close as Lawal would just slot in behind his sister teammate in 16th place then, as Van Starkenburg looks to the outside of the Dutchman, his fellow Dutchman in fact, and Lawal then right onto the back of Van Starkenburg now. This will be pretty interesting as Van Starkenburg tries to dummy up into turn 6, and Van der Neet gives him space, and in fact has to yield in fact. Look at that, fantastic forceful driving from Van Starkenburg, clean but fair as well, and Lawal swept around the outside, and also I think Mohamed Patel could get a shot here as well to try and take a place as well. So 3 places in the space of a couple of corners, and Patel goes round the outside. That's a fantastic pass, Patel. Talk about reintroducing yourself to FSR. Hasn't raced since the season finale in Brazil last year, so he's a late comer to the party this year. And here comes Florent Bastin-Gotti out the inside. So Van der Neet losing places hand over fist here. That's 4 places in 1 lap.
Yeah, great drive for some of the overtaking that we're seeing out here. You know, as I said earlier on in the race, it was a bit aggressive. I think now that some people have just calmed into it now, you know, we are seeing some decent overtaking, and it's very nice to watch as Van der Neet and Gwaitha. Van der Neet cut the chicane there and very nearly hit Gwaitha back then. So I think he was defending a little bit too hard there coming into the final chicane.
We've got Francesconi and Oslakovic into the pits for their first stop, so it seems to be these guys. I want to think, with some of these guys are going on a 2-stop strategy, that's something we weren't probably expecting. We were saying that we were going to expect a lot of drivers would go on the 1-stop strategy. I'm pretty sure that Gosby's running on the 1-stop strategy because he is just sailing away at the front, and he's 1 second, so he's really starting to spread eagle himself from the rest of the field. Vermeule's in second, but look at this, Malorqui has managed to catch up to it, and he's bringing Juti with him as well. And just behind, the second Netrex car of Nagy has locked up quite heavily into the hairpin. Burlak's trying to force his way up the inside, just couldn't get his nose alongside far enough. But now Burlak will get another shot down towards the chicane. So down Casino straight. Where's Burlak going to go this time? Goes to the inside, and has Nagy got any response? Doesn't seem to be. No, in fact, Nagy's dropping into the pits, as is Malorqui. And Gosby as well, so a lot of front runners coming in already. So Vermeule takes over the lead. So this is really intriguing here. So I'll be seeing a lot of guys actually favouring the 2-stop strategy here. Do they feel it's faster?
Quite possibly. Van Starkenburg's up until 11th as him and Lawal passed Rodriguez there for 11th, although now Van Starkenburg's up into 9th thanks to the people who had pitted. It does look like, by the drivers, the 2-stop strategy, if that's what they're doing, which I'd be surprised if they weren't, unless someone's going for a freakishly weird 3-stop strategy. You know, it's looking like at the moment the drivers are favouring the 2-stop strategy, and Gosby is down into second, so I think Gosby's pitted.
He has pitted. Look at that. He actually managed to get that pretty quickly because he's already on his outlap, already off the back of Vermeule, which is incredible. Just shows you just how big his lead was. Also, just saw Zoltan Schutte make a rather big mistake on the exit of turn 6. The car got very sideways, but some quick reflexes managed to catch it. As he's now got his holding station in 3rd. Peter Burlak still has to pit, so we'll see if they're going. As Vermeule does come in from the lead, so he relinquishes the lead back to sister teammate Martin Gosby. He has a rather large gap back to Juti behind, and the gap is now, if I look at it on screen, as Vermeule and Juti's in 2. Burlak carries on. He hasn't made a stop yet. Neither has Villalapala. And Malorqui, is he going to jump anyone in the pits? He might just jump Vermeule, in fact. Or, no, he won't. In fact Vermeule just about gets in front ahead of Lepola, so that's going to be pretty intriguing. Malorqui's back in 5th, and he's got now traffic in the form of Lepola in front of him, so that's not really worked out too much for Malorqui. He's going to have to pass a car on track, but of course Lepola still has to pit. So, Iras Mascudi's 6th and still has to pit also. Juti is now back out in 7th, ahead of Dimitri de Matos. And Van Starkenberg is in 9th, still ahead of Adjebola Lawal. So that's the top 10. Naji's come back out in 11th. Rodriguez is currently 12th with Behetel 30th. Then, Chris de Jong and Bastien Gauthier at it once again. And Gauthier forced de Jong very deep into turn 6. That's now allowed Ostakovic alongside him. They're almost going to go 3 wide.
Ooh.
Oh, Bastien Gauthier forces Chris de Jong into the wall. That, I think, was very, very... Oh, that was not sportsmanlike driving at all from Gauthier at all. And that's to put Ostakovic right into the middle of them like a sandwich. And I'm pretty sure de Jong didn't appreciate that, but I think maybe Gauthier will argue that there wasn't a gap and Chris de Jong just tried to force his way through. But of course the stewards will have to have the final say on that one later on, possibly after the race. As ahead I can see Van Starkenberg has slotted past Dimitri de Matos into the final chicane, as Mascudi is into the pits. And Perlac has carried on also in 2nd place. So Perlac feels as though maybe he's going on a one-stop, because he's running pretty well here in 2nd. He's got Vermeulen behind on fresh tyres. And so is Lepela. So I wonder if Perlac and Lepela, maybe, either they're running a little bit longer than everyone else to try and grab a bit of an advantage on track, or whether this is a one-stop strategy. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled on that one to see when they come to pit road, if at all, in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, I mean, about that move with de Jong and Gauthier, I would state that was very unfair. You know, there should have been a gap there. You know, well, you know, not a gap there, just opening the door and allowing de Jong through, but you know, to completely shut that on the other car, that's very unfair and very unsportsmanlike. As de Jong is going around Masculi going into Easy gets punted off again.
I think Chris de Jong's not really appreciating this. He's been passed left, right and centre, and now he's trying to get his own back now, because he's just trying to run his race and he's getting sucker punched left, right and centre here, which is not fair. And now he's come under attack from Oslakovic again. This is for 14th now. So de Jong is just holding station in the middle of the pack here. As looking ahead, I just did see on the timing screens that Martin Gosby has just set 118.218. So he's the only man in the one. Apart from him and Juti, are the only mans in the 118s at the moment. Martin Gosby on that last lap set the fastest 2nd sector of anyone else, and Vermeulen then took the fastest final sector of anyone else. So that is pretty good pace. And Gosby is at least lapping. He's at least 2/10 quicker than anyone else in that first sector. So Gosby seems to have at the moment race-winning paces. Ooh, a little bit wide on the exit of turn 9 there. Almost glanced the wall slightly, kicked up a bit of dust. So that shows you just how hard Gosby is pushing. And his gap is now 12.2 seconds at the front. So that's quite a staggering gap that he's got right now. And at the moment, it's fair to say that right now, he is favourite to win this race, judging by the pace he's setting at the moment.
I don't think there's anyone who even could get close to Gosby's pace at the moment. You know, and with like what we said earlier on in the race, is that strategy is less important here. You know, it's more of a driver's circuit in that respect. I don't think anyone can get close to Gosby. Gosby is so on the pace at the moment. You know, you've got Perlac and Vermeulen going at it behind.
They've just swapped places, in fact. They've just swapped places because Perlac has now just lost 2nd place to Vermeulen down the back straight.
Yes, sorry, I was pressing the wrong button. It's always helpful. It's always helpful.
Easy mistake to make when you've got a new voice communication thing. It's always an easy mistake to make.
Yes, very, very easy mistake. But yeah, that gap, I don't think you can argue with Gosby at the moment. You know, being 12.8 seconds in the lead. You know, and now okay, Vermeulen's gotten past Perlac. I don't think Vermeulen is going to be able to close that gap in really enough. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're only 17 laps into it, but if Gosby can make an effective 13-second gap to P2 in 17 laps. You know, what is it going to be like at the end of the race? Unless Gosby makes a mistake, I don't think anyone's going to be able to challenge him.
But we'll have to wait and see, because even so already, I mean, there is some substance to that, because Gosby, at the moment, he's lapping at least 0.2 of a second quicker than anyone else in Sector 1. And Gosby and Vermeulen have matched each other in Sector 2. So, at the moment, he's just kind of edging away a couple of tenths. Speaking of tenths, back for 10th is the fight between Mascudi and de Matos, and Malorqui and de Matos, excuse me. And Malorqui has just made it through, although de Matos isn't finished just yet. Just poking his nose down the inside into the final chicane, but Well, Lockley says, don't think so. This 9th place is mine, matey boy. And he starts to pull away in pursuit of 8th placed Ajibola Lawal. Behind, just noticing, look at this 3-way scrap for 11th here. It's Matt Patel and Chris de Jong again getting involved. And he tries to go round the outside slightly deep. And Patel's now allowed Masculi up the inside through turn 2 in the Pescara. Forces his way past into 12th place. So Patel also gets a bit snaky on the exit. So Patel loses 2 places in the space of 2 corners. He won't be impressed by that at all.
No, de Jong did have a good drive though past Masculi and Patel. So, you know, he's had a bit of an unfortunate, you know, few attempts at an overtaking move, and I think that must give him a bit of confidence to actually have done one that's worked, you know, and not only taken 1 drive but taken 2. So, you know, I'm hoping that he's getting back on it and can actually start to challenge other people without being punted off into a wall.
We're just sitting here looking at the field. Everything seems to be fairly spread out right now. There's not too many cars that are close to it, apart from this battle for 11th, which has now seen Masculi just trying to have a look at taking 11th place from de Jong. He now has the slipstream as they head down the Casino Straight. The slipstream effect is really prominent here in Canada because, of course, these guys are running low wings. Masculi seems to be running more than any others. There's big lock up from de Jong, and that's put Masculi right onto the diffuser of the Netrex Academy car. Is he going to try and attempt to pass this to turn 1? Down towards the complex we go. Masculi just pokes his nose out a little bit, but he's just trying to force de Jong to break a little bit deeper and make a mistake. But while de Jong did lock up, he's managed to hold on right for this moment as the Dutchman now fends off the Italian in the Pescara car right on his tail. And Masculi went a little too deep through turns 3 and 4, and he lost a car length or so. And they're really starting to pull away from Patel in 13th. And if he's not careful, he will have Ostakovic and Francesconi, because those two are in very close proximity. He will have them right onto the back of him to try and take another 2 spots from him. Looking back up to the rest of the field, and Van Starkenburg has caught up with Lepela in 5th. So Lepela, the Finn in for Go Speed, is now been challenged by Van Starkenburg. The Dutchman in the precision car, and just in the background you can see that is Zoltan Nagy and Ajibola Lawal as they head through.
Van
and then
Starkenburg pits again.
Back into the pits again. So, and that's only 12 laps or so after his first stop. So I'm not quite sure what Van Starkenburg's doing here, because this can't be a 2-stop strategy, at least for sure. He must be going at least 3, in fact, unless he's stopping every few laps or so for soft tyres. I really can't imagine what he's doing here, because he's going to exit back out in 12th as de Jong and Masculi go side by side, and Masculi takes the place. So Masculi's up to 11th, and Van Starkenburg is in fact in front. So he's only lost a couple of places. In fact, he's lost. Well, he was 6th when he came in. So he's lost 4 spots down to 10th. So that's not too bad. It's put him out in some very clean air. In fact, so that's not too bad strategy from Precision in terms of whatever they're running, how many stops they're planning to make in this race. But I'm starting to scratch my head as exactly how many stops Van Starkenburg plans to make here, because it can't just be 2. I mean, surely he cannot go on hard tyres from now until the end. I'm pretty sure that the hard tyres will not last 50 laps. It's pretty much impossible in my view.
I would debate it. If this is the soft tyres going off, you know, I would expect the harder tyre to, you know, maybe last 2, maybe 3 times longer, maybe at a push. 50 laps though, if this is the case, I would state that I wouldn't expect the tyres to last long. I don't see him doing a 50 lap stint. You know, that's a long stint. But I don't get it. Maybe it's Lapala, because, you know, that's the second time he's gotten up to the back of Lapala and has decided to go in the pits. I don't get what's going on with the strategy at the moment. Well, there's Jenson Button levels of looking after your tyres, and then there's doing 50 laps on the hard tyres around Montreal, and that's just silly in my opinion. I don't think anyone's going to be able to pull that off. But never know, we may be silenced there, and it may very well happen. But again, just keep our eyes peeled and keep an eye on what Van Starkenburg manages. He's already started to close in on Dimitrios and Matos in the second Go Speed car, so maybe he's got a fear of Go Speeds, because they said, or Lepela in general, because every time he comes up to the back of him twice now, he's jumped into the pit. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Anyway, back up to the front, and the gap to Martin Gosby is 13.4 seconds, and he's now closing in on one of the fast and speed cars. That's Thomas Mundy
who has struggled early on in this race. Cyril Vermeulen is there in second place. Peter Burlak is currently running third. Still yet to pit as well, remember, because of course he might be going on the one-stop strategy here. He might be the driver that's going to try and make it work. So whilst everyone else is making multiple stops, he could very well sneak himself up into contention, but that he's not currently running at a quick enough pace to keep up with Gosby. I'll tell you what, just talking about Gosby, his teammate Van Starkenburg has just set last time around the fastest lap of the race, a 1:18.100, and that's only just fractions faster than what Gosby's managed in his fastest lap of the race personally, in the 1:18.123. So this must, obviously it's fresh tyres coming into play here, but surely Van Starkenburg can't be burning up tyres this quickly. Either that or there's something seriously wrong with the tyre wear, because either that or maybe it's because Van Starkenburg is maybe running a little bit more wing on his car. It does boggle the mind as to why he stopped twice in 20 laps. I really can't work that one out.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point now, if Burlak can pull off a one-stop race, so then really we've got Van Starkenburg doing what is effectively at the moment looks like a three-stop strategy, and Burlak doing a one-stop. You know, you got races with people doing threes, maybe even fours, really, at this rate. You know, I don't see where all this strategy is going. But saying that about Burlak, you were saying that he's not quite on the pace, which is fair enough. You know, he's not quite there. I mean, he's not too far away from it, but he's not quite there. I mean, how much do you lose from you know, how much time-wise do you lose from travelling through the pit lane? What, maybe 12 to 15 seconds, probably, depending on your pit entrance and exit, because of the way the exit works coming round like the first corner. So, you know, if you think of that, so if Gosby's doing a three-stop, then he's effectively gained about 30, maybe 40 seconds there, really. So, you know, maybe I don't know. It's very hard to tell what's going on strategy-wise. I think we'll just have to wait and see how it plays out and see who pits again. You know, I think seeing who pits again now, is Van Starkenburg the only one trying a two-stop or a three-stop even, or are other people dragging out the tyres more? I think this could be quite interesting strategy-wise.
Whatever strategy Van Starkenburg's on, it appears to be working as he shot his way back up part through the field now. He has just passed Dimitri de Matos into the final chicane on the previous lap, so he's now starting to chase after his fellow Pro 5 starter from this race, Edouard Bellorca, who is now 8th. And looking back to the front, it was 13.7 seconds for Martin Gosby over Cyril Vermeulen. So we're coming up now to, we've already pretty much passed the first kind of third of the race almost, if you like. Now into the second third, and this is where we get to see really where everyone's going to play out here in terms of where they're going to finish. Because Vermeulen, at the moment, Gosby and Vermeulen are lapping in the 18s. Burlak's in the 19s at the moment, but of course he is running probably on those harder compound tyres, as we suspect. Juti is currently lapping on his pace in the 19s as well. I mean, in fact, apart from at the moment, in fact, Van Starkenburg sets another fastest lap of the race, a 1:18.049, so that's about a tenth quicker than anything that Gosby's managed already, which is incredible. And that included a fastest second sector of anyone. It was a purple sector 2. At the moment, the only drivers at the moment that are lapping in the 18s are the two precision cars of Gosby and Van Starkenburg. The rest are lapping in the 1:19s, with the exception of de Matos, who is back in the 20s. His last lap was a 20.2, so no wonder Van Starkenburg caught him up so quickly. But looking at these guys here, obviously, I think these guys must be on the hard compound tyres here. So these guys I probably would expect, but they've gone soft, hard here, I think, in terms of their strategy. In fact, Burlak's in, and we talk about Burlak, so Burlak is into the pits now. Now, this could be, I can't see this being a one-stop strategy. This is too early for a one-stop. This could be a two-stop, as Lepela comes in too. So they've both got the same idea here. So I wonder if they're going the opposite way. I wonder if they're going hard, soft. Because, but then how that's going to work out is that if you're doing 225 lap stints, then that's going to mean that you're going to have to do 20 odd laps on the soft tyre, which actually probably suggests that they're probably doing a two-stop on hards all the way. Also, what's going to be key is that, as we talked about before the race, is brake management as well. Of course, these guys are running very large brake ducts, which also is going to reduce the top speed somewhat. And of course, as we said, these very hard brakes, particularly into the hairpin, and into the final chicane, into turn 1. And in fact, some teams, looking back at last year, the previous couple of years, they couldn't even finish without adding to the size of the brake ducts. It's just behind Berlak. Change for 8th. That's Van Starkenberg up the inside of Malorqui. So Van Starkenberg has definitely got some pace left in him, but so has Malorqui, because he's not finished just yet. He's saying, excuse me, Rob, you're not getting away that easy. And just sails up to the side of Van Starkenberg again, up the inside, and pops back through into what is now 7th. So have we had someone else pit? No, of course that was Berlak, I think it was. Yes, it was. And Berlak's now, in fact, up the inside of Lawal here, so he's now up into 5th and chasing after Zsolt Nagy.
Malorqui and Van Starkenberg back together.
And great side-by-side action from those two. And running up towards 3 and 4. Malorqui's not giving up this easy. Van Starkenberg will try and go round the outside. And in fact, he's done it, in fact. Fantastic pass from Van Starkenberg. He stood his ground, held the line, and that's him up into 7th. Now, I'm pretty sure someone's just pitted or someone's lost a place. In fact, no, that was Lepela and Berlak went pitted. That's the reason why they've lost that many places. They've gained a couple of places. So this now puts the two Ghost Speed cars nose to tail. De Matos ahead of Lepela, but Lepela's going to want to try and dispatch his teammate very quickly, as he knows that De Matos isn't lapping on the same pace as the Finn. And look up to the front. Gosby's back in again. Got race leader Martin Gosby is in on the end of lap 26. And that's for another set, I think, of hard tyres. Must be.
Still going to come out into the lead, though.
And Vermeulen's also in too. From second. This will give second place to Zoltan Schutte. As Berlak has also got past Zsolt Nagy now, so he's now up into 4th. This will become 3rd if he can beat Vermeulen out of the pits. And we'll have to see exactly if that is the case. Side by side, and I think he will just about do it. Into turn 1, or maybe not, because Vermeulen, of course, the exit of the pits bypasses the first couple of corners. So in fact, I was mistaken there. Apologies for that. Vermeulen has retained his 3rd place and track position ahead of Berlak. So Berlak seems to be making these fresher tyres work, and looks like he's going hards all the way. Some of these guys are definitely looking as though they've chosen the soft compound in the earlier laps. And I would probably think that maybe Gosby has gone onto the onto the hard tyres here after doing 2 stints on softs.
Yes. Oh, someone spins. Alex Diaz spins. Coming around the first corner, gets it back under control, doesn't lose too much time. But saying that, bringing that into account, no one's DNF'd yet, and we haven't had someone crash out or any car problems. You know, so effectively all 25 cars are still running. And going back onto the brakes thing, how long until something bad happens to one of these cars? Can we get to the end of the race with all 25 cars running? And as I say that, Martin Gosby does a 1:17.492. That is a quick lap.
First man into the 1:17, so he's definitely pushing hard. And in fact, his gap to Zuti behind is 14 seconds. So through all of that, he's managed to, in fact, pretty much maintain his 13-second gap at the front. In fact, even increase it slightly, thanks to that lap. So it's pretty amazing just how quickly Gosby's setting the pace. It seems to be all in that first sector that he's doing it. He seems to be able to find time in there that no one else can, and that's what's making that's what's the key to his quicker lap times and his pace so far. It seems to be his car's more suited to the very winding, twisty section of turns 1 and 2, and then through 3 and 4. Zuti holds second, but Vermeulen is chasing. And looking at the sector times so far, as Gosby's going faster again on this lap just very quickly, he is now set a purple sector 2, so we'll keep an eye on the lap time as it comes through. Vermeulen was up in the first sector compared to Schutte by about 0.6 of a second, and Vermeulen is up again by another half a second, so he really is starting to eat into Schutte's gap in second place. Berlak's also flying on new tyres as well, fastest second sector of anyone.
Schutte pits.
In fact, he has pitted, yes. That is now from second place. So obviously his tyres were past their best in the last lap time. In fact, but Gosby's lost time somewhere in those sectors, because he's in the last sector. In fact, because he's now, that lap was in fact a 1:18.002. And as we say that, Vermeulen and Berlak have jumped into the 1:17s now. So Vermeulen's last lap was a 1:17.879. Berlak's a 1:17.997 with that fastest sector 2 of the race so far. So The 3 men on the move right now are the men in the top 3 right now. That is Gosby, Verdmuller and Burlak. And Burlak's been playing his strategy very, very cleverly at the moment. He's always splitting his race into 3 equal stints of roughly around 24 laps. So that means that by the time he goes into the final stint, he only have to run 22 laps, which means his tyres probably maybe slightly fresher. We don't know exactly just how fresh compared to what everyone else is doing around him. But Burlak is definitely putting himself into contention, and he's not too far away from Verdmuller, in fact, so he could at least, or at best possibly, grab himself a 2nd place. But right now, he's looking good for a podium place in 3rd, but whether or not he can turn the wick up on the engine on that twister and try and close in some more on Verdmuller and use up his tyres, we will have to watch with bated breath. Now behind we've got Zoltan Nagy, who's being closed on by Van Starkenburg, but at this rate, obviously, if he's going to stop again in the next couple of laps, is what we expect him to do. He did 8 laps in his first stint, 12 in his second, and then if he's doing another 12, that would put him on to lap 32 or so, which means, oh, that would be lap 32, as that's Francisco Maldonado. He's gone almost very, very deep into turn 1, but he very smartly moves out of the way. Well done, Francisco. And Van Starkenburg can swell 4th place, and Maldonado has hit the wall on the exit of turn 4.
Did he catch anyone else with that? I don't think he did. I think it was just him. I thought he nearly spun out in front of Milwaukee then. But yeah, it looked like he just smashed into the wall. I think that is effectively his race over. They can't repair rear wings in the pit lane. That is very unfortunate.
Now what's intriguing is that as Milwaukee went through, he did clip the errant rear wing that was torn off of Maldonado's positive sim racing team car. Milwaukee did clip the rear wing. Now I don't believe there's too much in terms of with our factor, in fact, that if you hit pieces of bodywork, that you in fact cause damage to your car. Now hopefully that's not the case, as that was they're all stacking up behind it, in fact, because they've got the two Ghostby cars going into combat side by side behind them, and that's fighting over 8th place. Lepela is now side by side with D'Amatos. I'm not sure that Ghostby will be too impressed that both cars are battling, especially when they've got both Masculi and Lawal. In fact, Masculi dives into pit lane and relinquishes 9th, and or 10th in fact, and Lawal's now closing it in the Precision Yellow car. So that's pretty scrappy from the 2 Ghostby cars. I wouldn't have expected them to be battling each other at this point in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I saw earlier on in the race they were running pretty much nose to tail, going down that straight again. I was wondering how long it would be until they started dueling. I didn't think they would, but evidently I was wrong. Something about... I was going to say something about Burlak. Oh yes, this is it. Fuel, because the fuel, you know, you're using the fuel, you have less weight in the car. Towards the end of the stint, you could do a longer stint on the softs and effectively go even faster on the softs whilst you're going longer. Because the degradation will be down because there's less weight. So if he's trying to play that into his strategy, it does look like he is ever so slightly closing up on Verbuller in front. So, you know, maybe Burlak's got a little ace up his sleeve and is trying to think of the strategy that way and maybe make himself up into 2nd place with his strategy.
Well, as we were talking there, Lawal has passed D'Amatos then, so that is now a pass for... In fact, they're going side by side again into the chicane, and D'Amatos will try to sweep around the outside. Oh, I think there was slight contact.
Yeah, definitely.
As Lawal just nudged Lawal just nudged out of the way by D'Amatos. D'Amatos almost saying, "Come on, Lawal, get out of it. This is mine, 8th place. If you want it, you have to come and take it from me the hard way." And I think pretty much Lawal saying challenge accepted. And look at that, because Nagy's also pitted. And look at that, he's come back out right onto the gearbox of Lawal. So Lawal's now got even more to deal with. He's got a real headache trying to get past D'Amatos in front and hold off a fresh tyre shod Nagy. He's looking around the outside, but can't find any room. And D'Amatos is actually stacking up Lawal into Nagy here. This is not benefiting the Precision Yellow driver at all. Lawal, it's one then the other. Now it looks to the inside, but he can't find a way through just yet. D'Amatos is he's not on the same pace as the leaders, but he's very good defensively. He's putting his car in all the wrong places at all the right times. As Nagy now looks around the outside, Lawal now diving up the inside of D'Amatos. Can Nagy take advantage of that one? He's now side by side with D'Amatos and gets through. And now, will he be able to close in on Lawal here? Because Lawal's now up to 8th, as is Nadji into 9th. So Damasus loses 2 places in the space of 1 corner. Now then, what's going to happen down towards the chicane? Under braking, stopping from some 200 miles an hour. Minding the wall of champions on the exit. We haven't had anyone clout it just yet in the race. So hopefully that's not going to tempt fate at all for any of these guys. And also whilst I was talking, I did also notice that Van Starkenberg has now leapfrogged Juti and he is now into 4th. So he's now going to try and start to close in on Van Starkenberg, on Burlak, who is now in 3rd. And at the front, the gap for Martin Gosby is 17.2 seconds. So that is almost a pit stop in itself. And he's trying to thread his way through traffic right now. He's got the Venus Project Racing car in front of Antonio Collarets. Collarets has not really been as quick as he has been in the past couple of race weekends in the World Series. He's struggling at the moment. He is down on the standings. He's down in 20th in this race. So obviously he's off the pace and not really enjoying Canada too much.
Interesting.
But,
Maldonado's back out with a rear wing.
So obviously
they can repair rear wings.
Evidently so. Obviously the Positive Sim Racing team have managed to get that thing repaired, but we've got another battle between Lawal and Nadji is once again on, and they're side by side again into the chicane, and Lawal just about holds him off. And Nadji, we said that he'd gone with the precision driver past the Matos, and Nadji's not giving up this fight too easy. In fact, they've got another Ghost Speed in front of them in the shape of Villir Lepela, who is running 7th. And Matos has pitted, it looks like, and he's coming back out in 14th, ahead of Adrian Rodriguez in the first of the Positive Sim Racing cars. That's the white, kind of light blue and green machine. And Nadji diving up the inside into turn 6. Oh, and that was close. He had to really stand on the anchors there because Lawal just shut the door completely. And Nadji really had to get that thing anchored up to avoid contact. There may have been a slight touch, but that was extremely lucky for Nadji not to lose his front wing and to ruin his race there. But I think Nadji's has a problem here where he can't stay patient behind some drivers for very long. We've seen it a couple of times now in this race, and I said earlier on back in Monaco that he seems to get very flustered when he can't get past someone the first time, and the longer he sits behind them, the more it starts to just kind of eat away at him at the moment. But let's see if he can get the job done here. Lawal going very defensive on the inside, forcing Nadji to the outside. And Nadji, oh, that was close. Heads over the gravel. And if he'd stayed in front, he would have had to give the place back anyway. Now, was that desperation from Nadji, or was that Lawal just placing his car effectively enough to hold on to 8th?
Difficult to tell. I mean, you've got to state that Nadji's getting a bit irritated sitting behind Lawal again for the second time this race, or it's the second time I believe this race. You know, the second time he's behind, just sat behind Lawal with no way to pass. I think Van Starkenberg's pitted again according to my live timing, so that's wonderful.
He has, yeah, because he was 4th. He's now back out in 7th and right on the back of and challenging Lepela for 6th now. So looks like that's his 3rd stop of the race. This race is going to be stopping 5 times, which is incredible.
That is a lot of stopping. But yeah, I think Nadji may be getting a bit sick of looking at the back of that, precision yellow car. It's just going to be a bit tough.
It is. And Van Starkenberg, we're talking about him. He's now looking to try and pass Lepela. It's a popular passing spot here down towards the chicane. And Van Starkenberg pops it up the inside. Lepela tries to defend, but he has to give way. And Van Starkenberg on those fresher tyres, another set of fresher tyres. I think it must be the softs. Cross the line he goes, and he's into 5th. I think also someone else is pitted. That is actually Malorqui's pitted now from what was, I think it was 4th or 5th anyway, it may have been 6th even, but Malorqui back out in 9th, ahead of Chris de Jong in 10th. And also Malorqui's come out behind the battle scrap going on for 7th between Lawal and Nadji. So I wonder if he can get himself embroiled in that one. In fact, he's right there, just behind it. So this could be an intriguing scrap pit. And also, look at how Van Starkenberg on those fresh tyres is pulling away from Lepela, and as a result, Lepela's falling back into the clutches of the battling trio behind of Lawal, Nadji, and Malorqui, who's just exited pit lane, is on fresh tyres as well. This could be an intriguing scrap over the final points paying positions.
I wonder when Malorki will be making his move. I mean, considering he's on the soft tyres, is wow. Still defending from Nagy there, but yeah, there goes Malorki up the outside. Ooh, he's on the fresher tyres. He's got to pick his point perfectly.
He's picking it right now. He darts out one way, then jumps back in to gain more slipstream. Now he decides to pull alongside into the chicane. Just gets stopped enough not to run into the back of the Netrex car. And Nagy really must be feeling the pressure here, because he's now going to try and get past the Well, who himself is having to deal with Lepela, but also try and fend off Edouard Malorki behind as they go on the brakes for turns 1 and 2. Nagy has the line and he has the place right for the moment, but Malorki on those fresher tyres is looking racy. He wants to get on with it. He wants to get these 3 cars in front of him, because he knows that if he can get past them, he'll be up from 9th to 6th in no time at all. And Nagy responds by putting Lawal under some considerable pressure. And they're all closing up because they're all stacking behind Lepela here, who is really doing well in 6th place. Is Nagy now forcing Lawal to the inside once again. But he's not close, wasn't far enough alongside to make a pass, but he might just be able to down towards the hairpin. And Malorki just sitting and waiting here for an opportunity. Down into the hairpin once more. And Lawal almost leaves the door open. Malorki tries to cut back by looking to the outside, but again loses time, and this has now given Nagy a great run onto the casino straight. Then here comes the Hungarian, and can he make it stick this time to the outside towards the chicane? And under brakes, and Lawal holds on still. So Lawal's doing a great job to hold on to this place and just frustrating Nagy even more. And Malorki's thinking about another pass. He's still starting to get even more eager to take that place. Or will he go around the outside? He's thinking about it. In fact, he might just do it, forcing the issue. A little bit of tyre rubbing, and Malorki, with a slide from Nagy, has done it. So that's a great pass from Malorki to move into 8th. So Nagy falling down the order once again. He's now just on the edge of the top 10. Christy Young is some way back. He's about 6 seconds down the road, as immediately Malorki looks to try and pass the Well around the outside. He's doing a 10, and look at Malorki around the outside of turn 7. Oh, that was good ball. Nagy out of shape, but Malorki, 2 magnificent overtaking passes out on the outside of the Well of Nagy into turn 1, and now on the outside of turn 6 on the Well. Absolutely staggering driving from the Spaniard.
That was a pretty impressive overtaking. You know, he did what he needed to do just to pass the 2 drivers. You know, he was stuck behind Nagy, just a little bit behind Nagy for too long. But as soon as he started making that move, you know, he was clear of where he was going to overtake Lawal. It was perfect timing there, and a very, very good overtaking skill as he passes Lepala as well, coming down to the final chicane. So Malorki getting some very good pace now, as he's on the fresher tyres, but you know, he's driving absolutely excellently at the moment.
That's 3 places in 1 lap, and that's absolutely staggering. So Malorki is definitely the man on the move right now. And that's quite an achievement to pass 3 cars in 1 lap. Just shows you just how much of an effect the soft tyres have, the fresh tyres have, especially when the fuel starts to burn down, because we are past the halfway point in this Canadian Grand Prix for the World Series, round 5 of the championship here at Montreal. And as things start to calm down a little bit more, as that scrap for 7th is still going on between Lepala, Lawal and Nagy, let's quickly run down the order as it stands right now, as the leader heads onto lap 40 then, so it's on lap 41. So it's Martin Gosby leading then with a 19-second lead over sister teammate Cyril Vermeulen in 2nd place. 3rd is Peter Burlack, who pits again. That's rather quick, because we wasn't expecting to come in so soon. There is a 2nd stop, because Burlack came in on lap 24, so that must have been on the soft tyres to try and stay with Vermeulen. Now, I wonder how that's going to work out, as Lawal is once again coming under attack from Nagy. Now, can you make it stick this time into the chicane? And still, Lawal holds on. But that's a great exit. Look at that. He's forced this mistake from Lawal. They're side by side. Lawal's forcing him onto the pit wall as they come across the line to start that 41. Nagy once again goes that side. Oh, contact!
Oh, no.
Huge impact into the wall from Lepala. From Lawal, sorry. And that was a misjudgment from Nagy under braking, and Lawal will be absolutely seething in that cockpit. He will not believe exactly what's happened. We'll see a replay of that one then. So down towards turn 1, and Nagy just got extremely close And I'm going to go on board here if I can with Nagy. Did he misjudge his brakes? He did. He just didn't brake. I don't think he was so close to the back of Lawal's car. I don't think he expected him to brake that early into turn 1. But nonetheless, that has ended Lawal's race. He was looking so strong. Was definitely a contender for points. But it's all gone out the window. And I'm pretty sure that the race director is going to want a word with Nagy after the race for that one, because I have a feeling that's not going to go unpunished.
I would understand that feeling as well. He just missed his brake. Well, by missed his braking spot, he just didn't brake, and you know, not only is that going to hurt his own race, it's only going to hurt his own race. It's ended Lawal's, and you know, it is a bit unfortunate for Lawal. You know, he's been defending so well for so long, and you know, and he's just had that all taken away, and you know, it's just the way it goes, really.
I wonder possibly if that was maybe because watching now the battle for third going between Juti and Berlac, who's just pitted onto fresh tyres. He's now up the inside. Will he be able to take the third place? Yes, he does. So Berlac then pops back into third, and Vermeulen is not too far up the road. So this might actually be working out pretty well for Berlac. He's on fresher tyres now compared to Vermeulen. He's a couple of seconds just in front, if that. So I think Berlac's strategy is actually working out pretty well here, because he's now just starting to... He's already gapping Zuti already by some distance.
I think Gosby's pitted.
Gosby, let's have a look. Look at the replay. Yes, he did just pit there from the lead, so he's back in once more. And that's his third stop, I believe, for the race. So he's now coming in. So it looks like these guys are looking to go on at least a 4-stop strategy, some of these guys, as the gap between Berlac and Vermeulen is about 1.9 seconds. So Berlac's going to have to try and make up as much time as he can before we think he's going to have to stop again. But as we were talking, I was thinking about back to the incident between Lawal and Nagy. We did see that Lawal was squeezing Nagy towards the pit wall. So maybe Nagy that was the tipping point. He maybe had enough of Lawal's just getting in his way. I suppose that's the mentality I suppose that you'll have if you get frustrated like that. You'll feel that Lawal's just getting in the way and ruining your race. So obviously, you know, the red mist can descend and raw emotion can take over, which is in some cases never a good thing. I think maybe Nagy just got fed up with Lawal just being in front of him all that time. Maybe just thought, well, to hell with it. I'm going to just forget to brake and end his race. But of course, not only is that ruined Lawal's chances of any points, because he's now out of the race and won't score, but Nagy's now dropped back down to 13th. What means Nagy will still score, because of course the points go down to roughly around, I think it's down to 15th or so individually, or
lower than that,
maybe
I think
it's 12. Well, I know that from to a certain point downwards, everyone gets 10 points. So
yeah.
Nagy will score something, but it's not going to be a top 10 spot at the moment unless he can fight his way through. He's got a few cars in front of him, so he might just be able to grab 10th. He's got the trio of Oslakovic in 12th, Patel in 11th, and Chris de Jong in 10th. They're all immediately in front of him right now. So it's not all over in terms of getting into the top 10, but I seriously cannot see Nagy being able to get himself out of that one and saying it was a pure driving mistake, because I don't want to sound like I'm accusing Nagy of doing it deliberately, but it just seems as though that either Nagy just didn't expect Lawal to brake that early, or he just simply didn't brake. And I can understand maybe getting frustrated, but I don't understand why you would do that when that would in turn compromise your own race as much as end Lawal's as well.
Yeah, I mean, whilst that was happening, Gosby, quite unsurprisingly really, after he pitted, did the fastest lap of the race at 1:16.547. But with this thing with Lawal, I mean, I don't want to say that Nagy just didn't brake at all, you know, and I hope that's the case, that it wasn't just him going, you know, hell for it, I'll just crash.
Battle for 10th. This is Patel up the inside of de Jong into the hairpin, and the Brit has relieved the Netrex Academy car of 10th. So he's now up into the top 10 on his return to FSR for the first time for this year, in fact. He's missed the first 4 rounds. De Jong just comes straight back at him and just passes him on straight line speed. So didn't last for long, but I'm sure Patel will try and get a drive out of the final corners, and yes, he will. And how much can he close? Can he find an opportunity down towards turn 1? He's closing in. The Abusso GP car trying to send it down the inside, maybe forcing De Jong to go a little bit deep, and he has done slightly, but De Jong gets it stopped in time to get to hold the inside through turn 2 and remain in 10th. So Patel definitely has the faster car at this point, and he will almost be able to get himself into the top 10 if he can make his way through. But De Jong's placing his car strategically. He's doing well to hold on right now, but Patel surely will try and get a better exits. A little bit of a slide exiting turn 7. Now he might have the run down towards turns 8 and 9, but again, De Jong has his car far enough in front to remain in that place. So Patel is going to try and make a move down towards the hairpin again, unless he can get a good enough drive out of here. Look at his line. He's forced De Jong to go defensive again. And is there any wheel spin? A little bit, or that may have come from De Jong, but still, Patel now has a great chance to grab a toe down the Casino straight once again, and we'll see if he passes down towards the chicane for the 46th time in this 70-lap race.
Yeah, and just behind, Nagy is now behind Oslakovic. Now, I don't know what I feel about this, like, you know, whether Nagy just be a bit more patient. You know, if what happens last time happens again, you know, then he's going to have some serious issues. I think anyway he's got some serious problems after the race and some questions that need to be answered, but at the moment he just needs to get past Oslakovic.
He's finding a little bit of difficulty there. He's just got a little bit twitchy, a little bit sideways, trying to chase after him, as Patel has now finally got past De Jong. That must have been into turn 5, or into turn 6 rather. And yes, it was. Patel was very brave. Just looking at the replay here, just myself. Patel was very brave. He held the line around the outside of De Jong through turn 5. That's extremely difficult to do because it's the only corner that you take flat out. It's a very fast right-hander, and Patel just stuck it around the outside, and which gave him the perfect line for turn 6. And it was as easy as taking candy from a baby in that pass. So as easy as anything for that pass, which is an absolutely fantastic thing to do. Now then, looking back to the battle for 2nd and 3rd, Burlack has actually dropped away slightly, it looks as though, from Vermeulen, because he was around 1.8 seconds at one point closing in. And the gap is now 1.9, so it's pretty much stabilising here. So Vermeulen seems content on the tyres he's on at the moment. And the fresher tyres don't seem to be doing Burlack that many favours right now, despite the fact that Burlack's are a few laps younger. But Burlack's putting himself into a fantastic contention to take 3rd. He's got a huge gap behind him, about 7.8 seconds. Excuse me, to Van Starkenberg in 4th, who I'm probably expecting to pit anytime soon at this point. He's coming down towards chicane again, and no, he carries on. So maybe he's gone onto the hard tyres after a few stints on the soft. We'll have to wait and see. And he's coming up to lap Bastien Gauthier, the Frenchman. And Gauthier himself is running in 22nd place, and he's the last car to be only 1 lap down. The only car to be left more than 1 lap down is Francisco Maldonado, for obvious reasons, after he clouted the rear of his car into the wall on the exit of turn 4, and that tore off his rear wing, but they managed to get it back to pits. They managed to fit him a new one, and he's now running, last of the car still running. Battle for 5th between Malorqui and Juti. And Juti's just holding on. Juti's now just staying in proximity to the Spaniard as they filter through turns 8 and 9. Juti, oh, big slide from Juti on the exit. He was a bit eager getting on the power because he could see a 5th place. Unfortunately, you've got to, and this is more patience that we've got to talk about, because some drivers they want to get the passes done. They want to get them over and done with. You have to pick your right moment. You can't just look for a pass at every single corner, because there are places where passing is impossible, and there are places where passing is pretty obvious, and it's easy to pull it off. But there are drivers that can, no matter where it is, whether it's a difficult passing spot or a very popular passing place, there are drivers that have a knack for putting their car in the right position at the right times and just are able just to hold the line and for some reason just hold the place without that too much bother. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how Juti deals with this one. I'm not sure if he knows exactly what his teammate's been getting up to in the race, but I'm pretty sure that they'll tell him after the race at least. Juti's looking at some decent pace. Looking at his lap times last time around, Juti's lap last time around was 2 seconds slower than Malorqui's, and that was probably due to the mistake out of turns 8 and 9. And getting very close in this first sector here is Juti. He's right on the rear wing of Malorqui once again. Twister versus Netrex. They head down towards turns 8 and 9. They've got a lap car in the shape of Santiago Niza. Oh, that was very close. Niza tried to get out of the way. I think he got a little out of shape on the exit too. And that was almost a disaster for both drivers.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying earlier about picking your point, is that, you know, around a track like this, of course there are many locations where you can overtake. However, I would recommend against some very specific ones. There's just some places where it's just, you can make a move there, but you need so much trust in the other driver. And when you've been sitting behind them for so long, you know, and they've been defending, they're confident in defending you know, it just becomes easier and easier lap after lap just to make that mistake. But speaking of someone who hasn't made any mistakes this race, Gosby has pretty much a 25-second lead over Verdmüller. I don't know where Gosby gets this pace from, but he is so far in the lead that, you know, this is just kind of like, not where I see the championship going, but it's kind of like, if he had finished Monaco, then really it's kind of, it is a bit of a picture of the championship where Gosby just looks like, you know, he's leaps and bounds in front of everyone else, and that's just really where it looks from like the angle that I'm currently looking at.
Oh, but looking at Gosby's running, he's had a fairly decent run for most of the time he's come here in Canada. I mean, the first time he arrived here raced here in 2009 with the World Series Amateur Championship, he qualified P6 and finished on the podium in second. And then later on in the World Trophy in 2010, he finished 4th after starting 6th on the grid. And then he didn't race at Canada again until the 2 races in the World Series and the World Championship last year, and didn't have fantastic races. He was back down in P20 obviously retired and had a problem, and then in the World Championship race was down in 12th, and had a poor qualifying, and then had I think he had some damage in the race as well early on, so he was struggling through there. But so far, Gosby has had a trouble-free afternoon, and he's kept it on track for 50 of the 70 laps we're running. He's about to punch that 51 into the history books as well. We come into the last 19 laps then. So as he comes across the line, let's run down the order. And it is currently then Martin Gosby, who said, with a comfortable lead at the front of some 24.2 seconds from Cyril Verdmüller in second place. In third, and starting to close in a little bit more now, because the gap is 1.4 seconds at this point, is Peter Burlack in the first of the Twister Racing cars. Started on the front row of the grid with Gosby, but is down 1 place. Fourth is Rob van Starkenburg, who is pitting again now into the pits once more. And I would probably think that could possibly be a Malorqui's into the pits too. So Van Starkenburg and Malorqui, who were running in 4th and 5th, are in for their, I would assume, as their final stops. Because I'm pretty sure Van Starkenburg probably, if he puts the hard tyres on now, as is probably Malorqui, they could be good to run to the end. I wouldn't really see any sense that if he's going to try and make another stop in these last 19 laps, but, you know, never say never. So Van Starkenburg then is out in 5th, which means that Zoltan Schuti's jumped up into 4th for Netrex. Lepela has now jumped up into 6th for Go Speed. 7th is now Malorqui after his pit stop and is not too far away from the Finn. Dimitri de Matos, who is... Oh! Just to be saying that, Dimitri de Matos is in 8th, just as we catch Francisco Maldonado going for another spin, and that's on the exit of turn 2. And I think he's just brushed the wall, and he's managed to keep it going. And as I look at that, we'll continue the rest of the top 10, but Chris de Jong is out of the race. And have a guess at what the reason is on that one. Yep,
brakes.
It's brakes. Brakes. It's brakes that has caused it, so that's our first victim to brake fade and then brake failure. So those guys will probably get the message over the radios that De Jong is out due to brake failure. So that's probably going to cause them some intrigue. As Verdmuller's into the pits, I've just seen him go through. So Verdmuller is in from what was second. And I wonder if Burlak is going to be coming in pretty soon, because Burlak hasn't pitted for a while, I don't think. So this will be his final stop if he's going to come in the next couple of laps. But as we say that, then going back down to the rest of the top 10, Mohammed Patel is in 9th, Abata Racing, in his first race of 2013 in FSR. And I thought for a second he'd gone into the Wall of Champions, but that was a bit of lag on my screen, so that's not a problem. He's still running fine. And rounding out the top 10, not too far behind, about some 3.4 seconds back, is Eros Masciuli. Running down the rest of the field, Zoltan Nagy is the first car to be lapped, and he almost had a huge twitch through turn 1, just as Martin Gosby has gone ahead and lapped him. So race leader has put everyone down up to Zoltan Nagy a lap down, and so he's going to start penetrating the top 10 in terms of lapped cars very soon. Oslakovic is 12th, with Adrian Rodriguez in 13th. Has he just pitted? Yes, he has just pitted from the pits there. And behind we've got Nick Rowland, who is starting to steadily make his way back up to the field after his unfortunate early collision with Florian Kohler. And he is now... He will get some points, of course, because as we said, everyone pretty much gets at least 10 points. And he's now been chased by the second Bicross positive car, Alex Diaz, who's in a Bicross positive sandwich right now. And Danny Van Den Eet rounds out the 16th place, and then quickly at the rest of the cars that are still running. It is Colleretts in 17th, Florian Kohler's in 18th place, being chased by Michael Francesconi. And Bastien Gauthier is 20th. Oh, we've lost someone. We've lost Villa Lepela. We have lost Villa Lepela, and what was the reason for that? And that's the reason why he's beached it on the curb of the last chicane, and it was because he was battling with Malorqui. And it looked to me as if, I don't think there was contact, it looked to me just that Lepela tried to hold the place and the rear end just came around and his car has beached itself on the curb, and unfortunately that is the end of his race. So it will be a non-score for Lepela once again. So he had a really tough weekend in Monaco where he got stuck behind Nick Rowland for all that time and made a mistake, I think it was at the swimming pool section, and now he has made another mistake whilst being passed by Malorqui. So it's not been a fantastic season for the World Trophy Vice Champion of last season.
No, definitely not. I mean, where is he sitting in the Championship? He's 24th in the Championship and he won't score any points again. You know, this is so many times now that we've seen Villa Lepela in what could be a decent point scoring opportunity. I mean, the first time was obviously in Australia and this spun out twice, I think. You know, he's definitely not having a good season here.
Unfortunately, he wasn't any better in the World Championship in Monaco as well, because he was his duties for Ash Racing, as we're seeing Van Starkenberg is 3.4 seconds behind Juti and catching him fast. So we'll look at that in a second. We'll keep track of that one as we're talking. But Lepela didn't have any better fortunes in the World Championship either. He was driving for Ash Racing, which is a satellite team for, or a sister team if you like, for Ghost Speed. And he clouted the barriers at Massenet, and unfortunately due to that he had to retire due to terminal suspension damage. So Lepela's really not having a very fortunate 2013 so far. The first third of this season hasn't been very kind to him, and he'll be hoping going forward that his fortunes do take a turn for the better, as we continue to watch Rob Van Starkenberg as he and Zuti thread their way through traffic, and they are trying to make their way past the battle between Francesconi and Colleretts, which has been momentarily halted because Francesconi's gone deep into turn 1, and also Colleretts lets Van Starkenberg go, and the gap between Zuti and Van Starkenberg now is only 1.8 seconds. So Van Starkenberg on these fresh tyres, I'm pretty sure he'll be going to the end. He's absolutely flying along at the moment, and Zuti's going to have to look at his mirrors because he'll be able to see on his split on his steering wheel that's going on. As ahead we've got a slight battle going on between Kohler and Van Den Eek down towards turns 8 and 9, and that's over 15th place. The Netrex Academy driver holding on to the place ahead of Kohler, the Frenchman, and they've now got to let both Juti and Van Starkenberg through. And look at the rate that Van Starkenberg's closing in. He really is making the most of these fresh tyres in what we think is his final stint.
It's got to be his final stint. I don't see a reason, a legit reason why he would pit again. If he pits again, I don't know what's gone wrong in his strategy, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, looking at it now, I mean, he's running in 5th place. He qualified in 10th, so, you know, it's gone pretty well so far. And, you know, he's got 4th not too far ahead. But if he has to pit again, that will drop him a lot further down and have to do all of this work all over again. And I wouldn't understand the reasoning behind that. I mean, how many times has he pitted already? It's been, what, 4 times?
I believe it has, yeah, 4 times he's pitted. So he is starting to close in, but of course the lighter fuel with those fresher tyres is definitely having an effect. And he's now got the gap down to, what is it now? It's 0.8 of a second. You can see it's visibly closer. He's edging away at it by taking huge chunks out of him per sector, per lap. So this is Van Starkenberg. Of course, he qualified 10th, so he's looking at least 4th place, at least 5th here. He's got potential to take 4th if he continues closing at the rate he is, and that's going to be quite intriguing. Now, something else that's intriguing. Look at the battle for second. Burlak has closed, but Burlak has closed in on Vermeulen. So. What do you make of that then, Lewis? That seems to be that Burlak seems to be. I'm not quite sure if Burlak has to pit again, because I don't think Vermeulen doesn't have to, because Vermeulen has already. No, I'm pretty sure Burlak has made his final stop. I'm pretty sure, unless maybe Jarkko Miekkinen, our broadcast director, can confirm that. But Burlak, I think, has already made his final stop. So this is now effectively this is a run to the finish, and this will be a sprint for 3rd place, for 2nd and 3rd. I believe, because Burlak at one point was ahead of Vermeulen when Vermeulen pitted, so I'm pretty sure Burlak has made his final trip to pit lane, and this is now an out-and-out fight for 2nd, as it is going to be for 4th and 5th. In fact, no, it's happened, because Van Starkenberg's got past duty.
Well, that was I didn't catch the move there, but so Starkenberg up into 4th. How long has he got until, there's about 7 seconds, 6.5 seconds up to Burlak, who's looking very racy behind Vermeulen at the moment. I think Burlak is looking pretty good for 2nd place at the moment.
Do you think that potentially, if these guys are going to run to the end, at the rate that Van Starkenberg's going, surely Van Starkenberg can't potentially get himself a podium, can he? Or at least 2nd? Because if he can, that could be an incredible achievement. Because you remember he started 10th, he somehow made this strategy work, where he stopped I think at least 4 times. It must be even 5 even. I'm pretty sure he stopped at least 4 times, maybe 5. And if he can make it work and close in on these guys, he's got 12 laps to do it, and he's got a 7-second gap to do it in. So you can take about 0.3 of a second out per lap or so. That 3 or 4 tenths maybe. That would probably be enough, I would have thought.
Possibly a bit more than that.
Possibly. As Burlak is now right on the tail of Vermeulen. Vermeulen will see this in his wing mirrors. And the Croatian, the reigning World Trophy champion, is showing his premise here, and showing that he can run at the front with stiffer competition. He proved that by qualifying on the front row, and now he's giving Vermeulen a real cause for concern. This is for podium places. This is over 2nd and 3rd. Gosby, some 24 seconds up the road, is pretty much assured of the race victory.
Got a good run.
He's going to try again up to the inside. He's got enough speed up towards the chicane, and Burlak goes deep across the gravel on the inside of the chicane. So he just about outbraked himself. He's lost a couple of car lengths as well, but he's got plenty of time. He's got another chance to try and make 2nd place. But Vermeulen, I think he kind of expected that, because he almost let Burlak go to outbrake himself, and then just capitalised on his mistake to sweep past on the exit.
Yeah, I mean that was a fair chance to overtake. But overtaking down there into the chicane, it has to be done before the chicane, so you can get back onto the racing line, because it's very difficult to turn in properly, which is what you saw happen. That's why they go straight on, because there's no room for them to really turn right and get that chicane done, because it's dangerous, really. You may flip your car. But, unless you can bring the car back onto the racing line, a move there is extremely difficult, unless you're with a a very forgiving driver who will brake extremely early to give you the position, which evidently Werdmüller is not. But Burlak will know that now, and you know it's just again it's picking the right point. The right point means everything. Is that Oslakovic pitting again, or is he out?
Oslakovic I think he has pitted again. So it's a late pit stop, but just noticing on the times, and what's quite intriguing is that Van Starkenburg last time around he actually lapped in the 16s, whereas Werdmüller and Burlak and even Gosby in fact were all in the 17s. Now last time around they go across the line, Burlak set a 16.973 and Van Starkenburg's last time was a 16.750. So Van Starkenburg is actually lapping quicker than both Burlak and Werdmüller, but I don't think he's not taking time out of him too quick enough, because the gap's now 5.8 seconds. He was quicker in just about by a tenth in sectors for the first two sectors, and matched Burlak in the final sector. Now looking for the first sector, Werdmüller and Van Starkenburg have matched sector 1 times. Burlak's 2/10 off, so whether or not Burlak made a mistake through turn 1 or whatever it was, come up to the end of sector 2, and that will come up on our live timing in a moment. We'll wait and see, but for now, Burlak has another chance, and this is Project Overtake for second place, take 2. So we'll see if he can pull up alongside. In fact, no, I don't think he's close enough this time. So we'll wait and see for that one. Just going through shot is Werdmüller's teammate Nick Rowland, and that could be pretty intriguing. I wonder if there's going to be any team tactics here, because of course Rowland doesn't want to get any penalties for blocking, but I wonder if Rowland will just kind of involuntarily kind of just accidentally hold Burlak up for a moment, or just cause him a bit of grief. I wonder, because that's going to be pretty intriguing to see how the dynamic between the two GT Mega drivers and Burlak plays off against each other. The gap now is 5.6 seconds between Van Starkenburg and Burlak. So again, another 2/10 taken out of it. It was a 17.0 for Van Starkenburg compared to a 17.3 for Burlak, and a 17.2. It was practically a 17.3 because it was 17.297. So practically a 17.3. So exactly the same lap times there or thereabouts between the two, between second and third. As Gosby pumped in a 16.5, so he really started to fly, as is Zoltan shooting on fresher tyres as well. 16.3 last time around. He's 44 seconds off the lead. He's 5.9 off Malorqui. So at this rate, I don't think he's got enough to close in.
Roland's gone like very wide, going down to the hairpin.
But I think there's a problem. In fact, he's stopped, and there's smoke coming from that car. So is that an engine problem or is that brakes? Whatever it is, I think let's have a look at this and look on the replay. Yeah, he hasn't retired just yet, I don't think. No, I think that's an engine failure. It is engine failure for Rick Rowland. We said it was you're at full throttle 67% of the lap here in Montreal, and unfortunately, Nick's engine has cried enough, and that's him out of the race. It's been a pretty difficult week,
Burlak and Werdmüller, side by side going through turn 1. Didn't quite work out there for Burlak. Werdmüller keeps the place, but it got very, very close. Bit of wheel banging there.
So, holding on, the battle for second continues on then, as we head towards the last 5 laps of the race. But that is a shame for Nick. He's had a very difficult race afternoon today. He qualified 12th, had his earlier incident with Kohler. He's been running near the back. He's up to about 14th or 15th, and then obviously his engine temperatures seemed to get the better of him. Either that he was too quick on a downshift. But that will disappoint Nick. He would have wanted to at least finish and grab some points. But still, that is unfortunately Nick's first DNF of the season in World Series, and hopefully he will have better fortunes next time out. And of course he'll be joining me in the world. I'll be joining him rather, because he's the lead commentator for World Championship. I'll be joining him tomorrow afternoon for the race, because of course this is the first of 3 races across the weekend here at Montreal. But we'll leave that for now, because we've got Burlak once again closing on Werdmüller. To the inside, goes defensive. Burlak trying to go round the outside. Will he be able to outbrake him? Last of a late break into There's contact, and Burlak is through. That was very forceful. But the Croatian is into second place now. Werdmüller will have something to say about that one, because he will feel that was an overly aggressive move from Burlak. But maybe there'll be a protest there, because Werdmüller will not feel that was a fair pass.
Ooh, I don't know where I'd sit with that one. I mean, yes, don't get me wrong, that was a pretty aggressive pass. No damage was really done. That's from what we can see. There may be damage, but from what we can see, there's no damage done to Werdmüller's car. If he feels that he deserves that place enough, then you know, there's Burlak in front of you, go for it. But I will state that there probably will be a protest against that move because it was a bit too aggressive. But speaking of which, Van Starkenburg's now 3.7 seconds off of Verdmuller there, so he's closed up quite a lot over the last few laps.
He has. His last lap time was a 17.2, and he is at the moment. He's pretty much he's pretty much matching Burlak and Verdmuller for times at the moment. So this is looking pretty intriguing to see how this is going to work out. Verdmuller still right on the gearbox of Burlak. I'm pretty sure that this is unfinished business between these two. Burlak can sense that Verdmuller's coming. He's going defensive already down towards the pit wall. And right now, he has the line through turn 1. So Burlak then is going to try and run away. And Gosby, meanwhile, is still lapping in the 16s. His current last lap was a 16.2. And that's at least a second quicker than anyone else that's lapping. But the only man that's matching him for times is actually Zoltan Schutte in 6th. And right now he's lapping a second quicker than Malorqui in front. The gap is 4 seconds, well, it's 4.9 now. He's obviously had some trouble in traffic somewhere because he had a fantastic first sector, a poor middle sector, and then again a not so tough third sector, not so fantastic final sector either. So that's going to be quite interesting. But what is interesting is back to battle up a second we're looking at, and Burlak, he's now got Verdmuller crawling all over the back of him once again, so now it's roles reversed. And the hunter becomes the hunted, because Burlak is now going to have to fend off the move. And just you saw in the bottom of the shot there was Van Starkenburg. He is still closing. The gap is back up to 4 seconds, so these two have managed to increase it a little bit more. As Verdmuller's in the tow, we've got Alex Diaz in the Biocross Positive Sim Racing car in front. Diaz is running 13th behind his teammate Adrian Rodriguez, as I think Burlak got a little bit of wheel spin on the exit of the final chicane. And Verdmuller is getting very close indeed. And I wonder how Verdmuller's going to take this, because of course we've seen quite a few drivers today get a little impatient trying to pass. It looks as though that Verdmuller has got a much more level head on his shoulders, and I'm pretty sure he'll just sit patiently here and just look for the prime opportunity. He knows the best overtaking spots on this circuit, as do most of the guys up at the front here who race calmly and sensibly. So I'm pretty sure he'll know exactly where where he's quicker, and where he can take advantage, and in turn, the exact place that he knows he'll have the best chance to make a pass to get back into second place.
Yeah, I mean, that is something to note. These drivers up front, they're very experienced. You know, they know where and when to overtake. Don't get me wrong, sometimes they get it wrong. Everyone gets it wrong at some point. But I mean, if I was Burlak at the moment, I'd be kind of thinking, okay, now if I don't build up this gap enough, and there's still that chance of overtaking from Verdmuller over the last, 2-3 laps, maybe he'll take an aggressive move, because there's only a few laps left. Maybe he'll take that move that will punt both of us off. And, he's got to be conscious of that, as Verdmuller's right over the back of Burlak.
Look at this, he's going to the outside, down towards turn 1, side by side into the opening corner, and they both run too deep, and Burlak was a result, I think, of Burlak going over the curb and getting slightly sideways, and that pitched him into Verdmuller. They both went a little bit deep, but Burlak, the Twister driver, holds on to second for the moment, but Verdmuller is putting him under massive pressure, and of course, remember, that's also going to give a slight opportunity to Van Starkenburg to close in further. The gap is now, what's the gap now? It's 3.1 seconds now, so that was a result of that mistake. And I don't feel that Van Starkenburg's lapping quick enough, unless these two fight amongst each other like they have the past couple of laps and make mistakes. These two, when they're running clean laps and not getting involved with each other, they are running pretty much at the same pace parallel to Van Starkenburg. So really, Rob's going to either have to find something left in his tyres, or he's going to have to pray that that these two have another major mistake and allow him to close even further, because they seem to have the measure of the precision driver right now. But still, it's an impressive run from 10th to 4th. Ooh. Oh, Burlak slid up in the chicane. Oh, Verdmuller hits the back of Twister car, and Verdmuller, I think, well, I'm not sure how the stewards are going to look on that one, because he's had to take a shortcut into the pits. Now, I'm pretty sure that's going to be pretty questionable from the race director, but that's now given Burlak second. But amazingly, out of all of that, Rob Van Starkenburg is now in a podium place. That's incredible. Let's check the replay of that one then. And what happened there was, well, now, did Burlak park his car on the apex? I'm going to look from the rear wing here. Oh, no, I see what happened there. Burlak lost the back end of the car and had to slow. Vermeulen was caught out as a result of that and just hit the back of his car. Effectively, Vermeulen had nowhere to go. And to be fair, Burlak, yes, it was his mistake, but I guess really he couldn't. Once he gone a little too hot, there was nothing really that Vermeulen could do. I don't believe in the slightest that was done on purpose by Burlak, because I saw the back of the car was sliding through the first part of that chicane. So it is unfortunate for Vermeulen. He has dropped to. He's back out now in 6th, and he's quite a way behind. He's about some 18 seconds back behind GT in 5th. So that's not going to sit too well, at least with GT Omega. And it's been a pretty dog day for them now since Roland's engine failed a few laps ago. But now means Burlak is now unchallenged in 2nd. But Rob van Starkenburg, after all the pit stops he's made and the poor qualifying he had in 10th, he's in a podium place. Who would have thought that?
Great drive. Really good drive to get into 3rd place. To state that, everything that... I still feel that he pitted maybe a couple of times too many, but, what can I say? He's gone from 10th to 3rd. That is an extremely impressive drive and display, as he is closing up on Burlak from what I can see. I mean, I'm just going to look at the timings, but it does look like he is closing up ever so slightly. It's about 2.1 between them, I believe.
I wonder maybe if Burlak took some damage, possibly, because it was a fairly hefty whack that he took from Vermeulen from behind. And we'll have to wait and see just exactly how much damage it's caused.
One lap to go.
Going forwards. Indeed, on the final lap, and if we go back to the leader, well, we've hardly talked about in this race, and Martin Gosby, well, what can you say? It's been a fantastic drive he's put through. Look at that, just how hard he's clipped. Look at how close he brushed the wall on the exit of turn 4, and just quickly look through the rest of the points paying positions then. So outside of the top 3, Malorqui will sit in 4th after starting 9th, so it looks like the guys who started on row 5 will eventually finish in 3rd and 4th. Zoltan Schutte is going to end up in 5th, some solid points for Netrex for him. So will Vermeulen. Could have been a podium, but you'll have to end up with 6th. Eros Masculi is going to be 7th. Now look at this going on just behind. You have to watch this. It's a fight for 8th going on between Domatis and Patel. We'll have to keep an eye on that one. And Zoltan Nagy, after his antics all through today, is 10th. But for how much longer? He's got Oslakovic on the back of him. But down the back straight for the final time. He didn't make it past the first lap in Monaco, but he's made it past the first one and all the others here in Montreal. And with this, he will now reassert himself back into the championship lead. It'll be his 3rd race victory of the season, and a well-deserved one. He's crushed the opposition today. It is Martin Gosby who wins the Canadian Grand Prix in absolute dominating fashion. That is an incredible performance to win by some 30-odd seconds. And now we wait for 2nd and 3rd to come through. But that was a stellar drive from those two. And it looks as though that Domatis, in the fight for 8th, just held off Patel, because of course they were a lap down. And just how dominating it was, Gosby lapped every single car up to 7th placed Eros Masculi. Rest of the cars coming through, we've got Zoltan Nagy just holds off Ostakovic. As Peter Burlak comes through, and he will take a very well-deserved 2nd place from 9th on from the front row of the grid. And Rob van Starkenburg takes a podium from starting 10th, and that's a fantastic performance. Edouard Malorqui will take 4th after starting 9th, and then Zoltan Schutte will come across the line in 5th to round out the top 5. And spare a thought for Cyril Vermeulen. He was so close and looked so good for a podium place. He's done nothing wrong apart from the mistake when he hit back of Burlak's car. It was just a pure racing incident, and Vermeulen will have to settle for 6th, and that's the only points that GT Omega will get this afternoon. And just a few more cars to come through across the line, and the battle for 15th, Kohler will just hold off Van der Neet in the Netrex Academy car. And that is everyone across the line that is still finished then. So, what a race that was. Fantastic stuff. Initial thoughts on the finish there, Lewis? You have to say, Gosby's drive, absolutely flawless. Didn't put a wheel wrong at all. And I think that pretty much completely makes up for the dismal fortunes of Monaco for him. Because that was a drive of a potential World Series champion. That was absolutely dominant.
Yeah, that was the drive of champions. You know, to have said that, you know, he's 30 seconds in the lead. You know, was it 30 seconds? It must have been about 30 seconds. Yeah, it was 36 seconds.
36.6
crossing the line. It is an extremely impressive drive, and it's kind of like it's showing the way that the championship probably will be going now. You know, he's got a confidence boost, and going into the next round, you know, he's he's going to be so confident, you know, and just to be able to take a win by that margin. I don't think I've seen a race that dominated. And for that reason, I don't think you can argue against him being the driver of the day. You know, he wasn't even in the broadcast very much. You know, whilst we weren't really talking about him because of how far in the lead he was. There just wasn't really much happening with him.
You're not wrong. It was Lamps that you didn't see him all afternoon. We only just checked in a couple of times to make sure he was still running. But very quickly, and to run down before they come off the screen, let's run down the finishing order then for this afternoon's World Series Canadian Grand Prix of 2013. It is Martin Gosby with an absolute crushing performance this afternoon to win the Canadian Grand Prix. Peter Burlack will take second, and I believe his first World Series podium, so well done to him. Third is going to go to Rob van Starkenburg, and you know what, for me, I'm actually going to give Van Starkenburg driver of the day. Martin Gosby's drive, yes, was fantastic from the front, but to go from 10th on the grid after dismal qualifying and all those pit stops he made, to go to eventually finish up on the podium is a sensational drive, and that's well-deserved a podium there for Precision Motorsports. Of course, you have to spare a thought for Verdmuller, and we'll come on to him in a second. Also, a definite honourable mention to Edouard Malorque in 4th. 9th on the grid to 4th, that's a fantastic result for Twister. 2nd and 4th for Twister will be fantastic. Of course, they would have liked to possibly get both cars on the podium, but 2nd and 4th, I'm pretty sure they'll take that in the battle in the Constructors' Championship. Zoltan Schutte rounds out the top 5 of Crown 7 Netrex. Cyril Verdmuller, what can you say, didn't put a wheel wrong at all through this race until the last few laps when it was a simple mistake from Burlack left Verdmuller nowhere to go, and it compromised his race by losing his front wing, and that puts him 6th. Eros Masciuli, quite a fairly eventful race for him in some stages, but 7th will go to him. Dimitri de Matos, to be fair, quite off the pace for a few times, but he managed to finish 8th, just ahead of Mohamed Patel, who was close on him in the final couple of laps. And Zoltan Nagy, I'm pretty sure he's going to have a lot of questions to answer from the stewards. He's going to round out the top 10. To round out the rest of the field, then 11th goes to Luka Ostakovic, just behind him. But look at that, there was a 10th of a second between 10th and 11th. That's how close Zoltan Nagy was to losing that top 10 spot. Adrian Rodriguez and Alex Diaz, the positive sim racing duo, the Biocross positive sim racing duo, finishing 12th and 13th. Antonio Collarets is in 14th place with Florian Kohler just holding off Danny van der Neet. Last couple of cars to come across the line in 15th and 16th. Michael Francesconi is in 17th place ahead of Bastien Gauthier in 18th. And then Santiago Niza and Francisco Maldonado, after his eventful day, hitting the barriers and losing his rear wing, finishes in 20th. The retirements from most soonest down to earliest are Roland Lapala, Chris de Jong, Ajboa Lawal and Thomas Mundy. So what a race we've had here, and it's the first of 3 races, of course, this weekend, because of course tomorrow we have a double header. It is the World Trophy will take place tomorrow at 12:30 GMT time and 1 o'clock GMT time for the race, and the UK time that's 11:30 in the morning, and for the start of the broadcast, and 12 o'clock for the race start. And then of course we have the big one. It's the main show. It is the World Championship. Bono Huis is here, along with Morgan Morand. And also, for a one-off appearance, we have the return of Lee Morris. He's an extremely quick driver. He's an FSR veteran. He's coming back for a one-off appearance. That should be fascinating to see exactly how he gets on alongside up against the current championship rivals. That's going to be tomorrow. That will start at roughly around 5:20 in the afternoon UK time, 4:20 GMT. And 5:20, the race will go live at 6 o'clock UK time, 5 o'clock GMT. That will be myself and Nick, alongside Nick Rowland for that one. So to finish up the first of the 3 races of this weekend here in Montreal, Lewis, your final thoughts from today. It was a fantastic race, some great battles going on, some controversial incidents, but in the end, you can't deny, Martin Gosby had that race signed, sealed and delivered pretty much from the first lap.
Pretty much from the first lap. I mean, yeah, I think even since he took pole position, he had it pretty much signed, sealed, and just sent off. It seemed like it was so easy for him, and I think that's really the way. If he'd have finished in Monaco, as I said before the race, was that how far in the lead would he be now? That would have been so many more points he would have had. But to state that he's now back into the lead of the championship, I don't think there's anyone who can really challenge him on that front.
Well, we'll have to wait and see. The next time you'll see the World Series is going to be in 2 weeks' time. We'll be head to the home of British motorsport. It's going to be the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, of course, in that fantastic arena layout with the extra overtaking opportunities and the long straights and the very fast high-speed corners. That will be on the 15th of June. Be sure to tune in, same time in 2 weeks' time. But of course, that's the end of it for World Series and the end of the broadcast for this afternoon. Of course, World Trophy and World Championship, as we mentioned, tomorrow. So be sure to tune in for all the action for still to come from Montreal. But for now, from myself, now I'd like to say thank you to, of course, to Thrustmaster, to RC, to Race Department, and to SimRace.tv for all of their support, and of course to SimSync as well. And for myself, Scott Woodwis, and my co-commentator Lewis McGlade, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned over the weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow for the World Trophy and the World Championship. But until then, bye for now.
Bye.